Good morning, Rapid Freaks. Lexiot's here. It is Sunday, and I'm doing a Sunday special report today on something very current, something that just happened in the last couple days. The NBA very upset with Damian Lillard and his agent about making it very public that if he gets traded to anywhere else other than Miami, he won't report or he won't show up or he won't fulfill his obligation. He's saying this for about a month and really like telling other teams, like his agent Goodwin was literally calling other teams is warning them, do not try and trade for Dame Lillard if you're not Miami, because we're not coming there. And he really only wants to play for the Miami Heat. And it's a weird situation. I get it. He's been in Portland for 11 years and he's shown super loyal stuff. And he may be in a hurry to get out of there. But in some ways, Portland's not in a hurry to trade him away for nothing, and he's got to kind of work with them. In some ways, only designating one place really handcuffs the Portland Trailblazers for how to make a deal. If they're saying, okay, we can only deal with Miami, and really like it's not lining up, well, what do you do? There's nothing you can do. It's an impossible situation at that point. And then publicly, it looks really bad. Like in some ways, Lillard is not helping himself by putting these vibes out like this because he looks like he's very, it's not like spoiled, but just kind of like pushy and kind of like, okay, why are you being such a, trying to totally control everything here? Because, it doesn't help that him get moved by saying he will only go to Miami. If he really wants to go and try and contend for a championship, Miami may not be the only option. And there may be other teams that could be interested in him and could get him, and he could be in a championship kind of situation. So in some ways, it doesn't serve him to be like this. Maybe he does have some sort of thing with Bam and Jimmy, and he's like, "Oh, I really got to play with these guys." But that's not going to help you to get there by being like this. Now, the NBA basically, this is what they said. They sent a memo on Friday, and it's very interesting. He said, uh, basically, they sent a memo to all 30 teams stating that any player or agent who makes public or private comments indicating they won't fulfill or fully perform the services called for under their player contract is in the event of a trade will be subject to discipline. Meaning that if they don't want to report or they don't want to be traded somewhere, or they're saying things like publicly to say like I will not go to this city or whatever, that they can be fined and or suspended. That means that they can be missing games and not getting paid for them. Not only on top of getting fined, I think they said the minimum is like $150,000 or something, or up to $150,000 they can fine them. I get it. I get it. He wants to get out, but this is not the way to go about it. And in fact, in some ways, I get it. You could leave and you could go to even worse situation if you're not careful. And Portland may not care about sending you somewhere good, honestly, in the end. So it's weird. Now, how will this affect trade rumors and stuff? And I have OG in the picture for the stream today and talking a lot about OG and trade rumors, Jake Fisher, trade rumors to Portland, trade rumors to Indiana, trade rumors to this team, that team. In some ways, maybe this will help with the whole trade rumor clickbaity kind of phenomena around the NBA at this point, but probably not. It'll help as far as people will know certain rumors just can't be true anymore, because if they say stuff like that, they're in trouble. And they're going to get in trouble if they start saying stuff like, well, I'll only go to this team, or I'll only do this, or I'm demanding to go to this team. So in some ways, we can debunk some of the rumors that come out at this point because the NBA is clearly stating the rules and saying that, like, look, these guys, if they do this, they're going to get penalized for it as far as not reporting or rejecting a trade that they're involved in or whatever like that. I get it. I get it. They want to have freedom. They want to have freedom to be able to play where they want to. Well, they also sign contracts and they get paid a whole hell of a lot of money. And that is something that is an agreement. And that is something that's important in today's society. You don't write your name down and take the money and then say, oh, I want to leave, or I don't want to play for you anymore, stuff like that. Well, if you do that, well, you want to work with them to get somewhere else and maybe not do stuff publicly anymore. There could be a lot of still bullshit happening privately or leaked out. Sources will say stuff. but it can't be directly linked to the player and the agent at this point because they can get in trouble for this kind of stuff at this point. So we'll have to see. I'm sure there'll still be leaked out stuff like, oh, this person's saying that they don't want to play for this team, but they will deny it. And they'll maybe say, I didn't ever say that. That's just a rumor that's out there. Y'all can't find me for that. But they had direct goods on Dame Lillard and his agent in this situation that they had them basically going around doing exactly what they're being accused of. Warning teams not to trade for him unless they're Miami because he will not want to be there and he will not show up happy and do things for that team. Well, that's just not the attitude we want in the NBA. Adam Silver saying, you better get with the program. And like, look, you're making a huge amount of money. You play a game and you are playing for a lot of money. So why would you not just do it and go somewhere else, all right, let's read some of the comments this morning. Thanks for being here with me this morning on Sunday Special Report. Trevor J is first in. Never take advantage of someone who, like you, never say you are busy to someone who you need. You never cheat on. The one who has trust in you. Never forget those who always remember you. All right. So he's saying never take advantage of someone who likes you. Never say you are too busy to someone who needs you. And never cheat on someone who has trust in you. Okay. Yeah, this is good stuff. You got a good person in your life. You don't want to mess around with that and, treat them wrong. So, yeah, I'm with this for sure. This is all good, solid advice, Trevor. Monique is here. Good to see the super fan, Monique Lawrence. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. I'm just glad Pascal Portland talks are over and the Dame to the Raptors, fuck you, fuck off. Anyway, I'm glad Stanley spoke up, but why did they wait so long to ask? Don't get that. Okay, all right. There's a couple things Monique's talking about here. We'll start with Stanley. Stanley Johnson getting interviewed in the last couple days and speaking out about the Pistons and his time getting drafted there and his experience being drafted by the Pistons and what happened in his part of his career when he was on the Pistons and he was on a podcast. And basically, he was speaking his views on how it's viewed about his draft pick in Detroit and his time there. And he said this is a quote. I would say to the Pistons, I think I could have been better. I'm sorry that you guys traded me for a player who never played. Was I a bust? Meaning, did I do my expectation for the Pistons? Hell no. Now, in some ways, Stanley's trying to stand up for the whole idea that he's a bust. And in some ways, he's saying it's not his fault that, he's mishandled by the Pistons. And he very much was mishandled. I mean, Stanley could go watch the Stunted Growth on him on that great YouTube channel, Stunted Growth, that did a piece on him last year. And it illustrates exactly how Detroit dropped the ball with him when they drafted him. They didn't have a very good development system at that time, and he needed development. He needed different things. And he didn't start getting it in his rookie year in Detroit. He had to go other places, and he started to blossom more in other places, including Toronto during the Tampa season and those times. So, I think it's just that Monique, he doesn't get a lot of interviews. And in some ways, maybe people haven't really talked to him about this that much. And that's why we just haven't heard him quoted on this before this. But he is now saying it. He's like, look, you want to call me a bust? Well, I was mishandled. And that's not totally fair to me. All right, about the Dame Lillard rumors to Toronto. In some ways, the news that we're talking about today makes it more open to the possibility that he does get traded to Toronto and that we do turn around and have something happen with Lillard in a Toronto jersey. Now, if he comes here, Siakam won't be going anywhere because he wants to play with Siakam. In fact, this is part of the reason why the Trailblazers have lusted for Siakam so much, or Anunoby, is that both those guys are really good fits with Dame Lillard on a roster. So this is why they've lusted to get these guys in Portland. Well, that's how they were going to try and get vets around him to try and win. Well, we could do the opposite. We could trade some young guys and get Dame Lillard now, and we would have a team that would contend for a championship this year. And that's why I'm not against us trading for Damian Lillard. I think it would be a good move in some ways, depending on what would be going away from us and what would be staying to be good enough to still to win. It's not like I want to trade Scotty though. I've heard that that would be a big part of it, is that Portland would want to pair Scotty with Scoot and Portland, and we would get Dame on our team somehow, some way. I don't know, but in some ways, the ruling of the NBA and the warning towards him allows the door to be a little bit more wide open, that it could possibly be us that gets the trade done with Portland. And that Brian Winders and other people, experts around the NBA, think that we have a good chance of this. John Hollinger, different experts look at the situations, and in some ways, they say that the puzzles fit as far as the Raptors may be a team that Portland could trade with. So it's not a closed done deal. But I will say this: I think Siakam's status on the Raptors himself is pretty safe. I don't think that anybody's going to be able to trade for his size of contract off of our team where it will be valuable to Masai and Bobby to take the trade. So I don't think Siakam is somebody who we should worry about getting traded. I don't think Anunoby is either. But maybe some of these other guys, somehow, some way, in certain ways, could possibly be traded themselves. So it's very, very interesting situation. I think that this actually makes it more likely that he could get traded to Toronto, because now they're signaling that they would be okay with other moves all of a sudden. They have to. If they don't, fined and suspended by the NBA. That's what they're saying. So, all right, Canadian Dana is here. Good morning, Canadian Dana, everyone. My son calls this reverse tampering. I think that's pretty funny. Well, tampering's a bad thing. So in some ways, like doing reverse tampering is like, I guess, a bad thing in the other direction. I mean, it is very controlling. I don't like big brother kind of shit where it's like we tell you what you can and can't say and think what you can and what can't think, you know. And in some ways, this is kind of like this. It's anti-free speech. It's anti kind of like, you know, say what you mean what you say, tell the truth kind of stuff. In some ways, I commend Dame Lillard and his agent for being honest and saying, I only want to play for Miami. You know, in some ways, I kind of commend Siakam. Like, he could be in trouble for what he said, as far as like, if you trade for me and I go to your team, I'm not going to re up with you guys and do the max with the team I get traded to. I'm going to try and find my way back to Toronto somehow. That statement that Siakam made possibly could fall into this category of finable or suspendable offense for like making it very clear that like he's like, I only want to be in Toronto. If you guys trade for me, don't try and trade for me, because if you try and get me in Atlanta, I will not stick around. Is that fall into the same category of what Dame Lillard was doing? I don't know. It could possibly. And where does this end? It's a slippery slope kind of thing, too. It's like, where, if they're going to start decreeing things about what people can say and can't say, well, where does this end? Are there going to be things further down the road? Like, you know what? This isn't really cool either. You guys can't do this either. Oh, you know what? We're going to stop you from saying this stuff, too. That's the other problem on the other way from the reverse that I look at is like, I never like, you know, that kind of stuff. Control or freedom of speech is important to me. Let's see. Trevor's saying, good morning, Raptors family. Good morning to you, Trevor, and thank you for the words of wisdom. Nameless is saying, I believe entitled is the word. There you go. That was the word I was trying to think about earlier with Lillard. I mean, I guess 11 years loyal to Portland and the community makes him feel entitled to be able to like strong arm his way out any which way he can. I mean, I get that. I kind of get that. It's like he's done his time. He feels like he's been here. He's tried really hard. He's given a real good service to that metropolitan area. But it's like, you know what? Enough's enough. The clock is ticking. I don't have much time. The GM here sucks. They're not building a good team around me to compete in the playoffs. I want to go somewhere and compete for a championship somewhere. And I'm ready to go. I don't think Damian Lillard's a bad guy. In fact, I think he's a good pro. And I think that there's a lot of good things about him. I think this is just one of these situations where he comes off kind of bad, like entitled, as Nameless put it. Yeah. Iceman like Gervin's here. Good to see Iceman like Gervin. NBA players get paid a lot of money to play the game of basketball. When a player tries to publicly force a trade, it looks bad for the NBA. I wonder if more teams will now enter the Lillard market. Yeah, in some ways, this is part of what they're doing is that they're cultivating more of an atmosphere for possible, like, real talks to get through. The stuff with Miami just was going nowhere. In some ways, Miami has nothing to do with anything at this point because they've stripped their team in weird ways with different weird deals with have guys and stuff, and they don't really have anything of value to send back to Portland, and they don't like anything they've got. So there's nothing happening. And once again, Portland's front office is not going to get like cheated in this whole thing. They really, really want to wait and do the deal exactly right. And that's why they're saying if it takes months, it will take months. And that he's just got to be patient. So it could very well be Lillard's playing for Portland this year, not very happy about it. But at some point, they get a move, maybe around the trade deadline in the middle of the season, or maybe next off season. I don't know. They're going to try and move him and fulfill his request, but it's all within due time and not at the detriment of the Blazers organization, is their philosophy. James Harden is a similar situation. He's the worst of this. In some ways, I can give Lillard his first time ever doing this because he was overly loyal to the Portland Trailblazers. But James Harden has not shown any loyalty to anyone, hardly ever. And right now is a very good example of it. And this is another guy that's going to be sitting, maybe discontented, still on the Sixers team, and maybe causing problems. And he'll be having to wait to get moved somewhere himself. The talk around him is the Clippers are unserious about acquiring him. He wants to come to Clippers and be rejoined up with Russell and some other guys that are there. But the Clippers aren't that interested in him, and they're very unserious in the talks. I take this as kind of like, maybe they're saying stuff like, we'll trade you our super fan for your super fan, and we want James Harden, and we'll also trade you one of our very end of the bench guys. And that's it. Oh, you're not being serious, Clippers. Yeah, they're not. They're being unserious because in some ways, James Harden's loyalty and the way he plays in the NBA is unserious in some ways. I'm not saying he's not serious and he's a good player. I'm just saying in some ways he's unserious. So why wouldn't the Clippers talk to them in an unserious way about acquiring him? So yeah, they're going to be waiting, Damian and James, to be moved. Watch. Yeah, Shere Khan's here. Good to see Shere Khan. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. It's been a while, but I just want to drop in for a bit. Did anyone talk about the Dr. J comments about KD? I have a lot of respect for Denver compared to the cheat code. Get Golden State Warriors teams with KD, not the same. Yeah, I like this. I'm the same way. I think the way that like Milwaukee and Denver and Toronto have won the championships in the last couple of years is really the right way. Team concept with one superstar kind of holding things, and then role players and just really good team play, all around good defense, stuff like that. Golden State in some ways, they were a dynasty. They were very much stacked. They had a lot of guys, and in some ways it was easy for Kevin. Kevin got rings in an easy way because he was with Steph and Draymond and Clay. And, in some ways I don't respect that as much. I'm totally with Dr. J. In fact, what he said, there's a couple of things he said recently that are really funny. He gave us his top 10 players yesterday, and Trae Young is like, whoa, you crazy? No, he's just older. And he played himself, and he's naming the people he played against that were the best. He would know them the best. He's not going to know these newer people. And honestly, I trust Dr. J's judgment on who the greatest 10 players are over like recency bias and people getting all upset and all up in arms that the most recent great player that Dr. J put on his list was Michael Jordan or Karl Malone. Yeah, people have a problem with that? No, because he played another era. And the people that are on his list are very bona fide top 10 kind of guys that could be on that list. Just because he didn't list anybody recent, well, maybe that's how Dr. J looks at the game at this point, that he doesn't think y'all are that great. Let's just put it that way. You have what? Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Nate Archibald, Karl Malone. That was his list. His list was like these guys from way back, from way before. And, he didn't list anybody after Karl Malone and Michael Jordan. Nobody. Not a single one. He didn't list Kobe. He didn't list LeBron. He didn't list none of them. He listed only guys from back then. And Larry Bird was on that list, too. I remember that, too. Yeah. So, Dr. J, you go. He's an old head. He knows he has his opinions, his perspective. Let him have his perspective. In some ways, it's more qualified in judging things than anybody that's criticizing him. This is Dr. J, for Pete's sake. Let that man say what he's going to say. But I'm with him. And the comments about Kevin directly about wanting to change teams so much and stuff like that, he's exactly right. And Kevin will probably agree with him to a degree too. Watch. He would. He's a weird guy these days, Kevin Durant. Very, very weird guy. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Denver championship this year. Go Nuggets! Good job this year. Mischief's here. Good to see Mischief. Who remembers Vincent Lamar Carter saying, "I ain't dunking anymore" during an interview? He said, "Stop trying in games." We ended trading Carter for Alonzo Mourning, and Alonzo didn't want to play in Toronto. Yeah, yeah. There's been refusals of trades in the history of the NBA where there have been very like ugly issues. Steve Francis with the Grizzlies, that may have killed that franchise. The Grizzly Truth unraveled this. That they went and looked at it, and one of the points that really killed the way that the Vancouver Grizzlies were looked at was when Steve Francis said, "I'm not coming to play for them." And that really, really hurt that franchise in all kinds of different ways, and may have actually was a huge thing that caused its demise. Steve Francis refusing to come play for them. Well, the thing with Alonzo Mourning, yeah, that put our franchise back, way back, because the good stuff we were supposed to get for Vince was supposed to be Alonzo. Alonzo's like, "I'm not coming to Canada. I'm not going to play for Toronto. Fuck you, Alonzo. Fuck you, Alonzo Mourning. You fucking piece of shit, Alonzo." This is why I hate Alonzo. It's because of this. He said he wouldn't come from play for Toronto. Well, fuck you, Alonzo. You think you're better than Toronto to come play for us? You fuck. You fucking idiot. Yeah, I hate this. And and if they enforced this kind of stuff back then, well, these guys should have been in trouble for that shit. Seriously, Alonzo should have gotten fined and suspended for refusing to report to Toronto when that Vince Carter trade happened. For sure. And well, why are they doing it now? Why is it so important now? Well, because it's making the NBA look bad, and it's not getting swept under the rug quick enough. The Alonzo thing was just like, okay, he doesn't want to go to Toronto. Toronto, are you upset about it? Yeah, we're upset about it. We don't care if you're upset, Toronto. We're just going to keep moving on in business as usual. You just have to eat it. And you can turn around and trade him again for nothing even further. And then boom, that's it. That's how you got to deal with it, Toronto, because nobody cares about you. That's what I'm saying. That's how we've been dealt with this whole entire time we've been in the NBA. Second class citizen team with not getting the same kind of consideration as other teams. If Alonzo Mourning had refused to come to the Boston Celtics, he would have been punished heavily. Heavily would have been punished at that point in time 20 years ago about. Yeah. Yeah, great comment, Mischief. And thanks for bringing this up. This is definitely apropos to this situation, the refusal to report to a team. Kenny Anderson, kind of iffy on this too. Kenny Anderson. Chauncey Billups did come and show up, but he did not want to be here. He did not want to be here, Chauncey. Yeah. All right, let's see. Fiercely Sauceros here. Good morning, fam. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, Fiercely. I hope you have a glorious, sunny Sunday with your loved ones and just good things happening. Just fantastic, good stuff. Iceman is saying Pascal's situation isn't the same as Dame's. Pascal's just saying he won't sign an extension with any team that trades for him, not that he won't show up. Their contract situations are different. That's a good thing to point out. That's the difference there. I think you're right. So in some ways, Siakam wouldn't get in trouble for saying, "Okay, well, I'll show up and I'll be there, but don't expect me to stay long term." Is basically what he's warning people, and that's fair. I guess in some ways, that's actually very helpful. Atlanta goes all the trouble trying to trade for Siakam and trades for him, and then like he tells, "Oh, I didn't intend to stay with you guys at all." And he's like, "Well, at least he's being nice and saying it up front." So I get it. I get it. Yeah, this is a good way of. This is a good difference to point out as far as like the difference between these two things. You're right. You are right, Iceman. So I guess that wouldn't be something that Siakam would get in trouble for. It may be a very specific thing, like what they're exactly doing right now, that'll get their ire and do this. In some ways, some of the trade rumors are harmless, and they're not going to be like coming down on people for starting fake rumors or stuff like that. It's when it's very specific, very caught red-handed, and it's kind of like also at the same time really giving a public bad eye to the NBA because of like the way that players acting. Then I think they will step up and be like, "Yeah, we want to talk to you, and if you do any more of this stuff, we're going to fine you." That kind of that way of dealing with it. Let's see. Shir Khan saying this Dame situation makes me a bit uncomfortable with the state of NBA contracts and what it entails. In other jobs, you are free to quit anytime without retaliation, but big money changes things for people. Well, that's the thing. In some ways, contracts that are big and multi-million dollars, you can get sued over not fulfilling these contracts in other areas of job sectors. If you sign something, like here's a weird one. Listen to this. ESPN just laid off a whole ton of their people on air personalities. Well, one of the people that they laid off was Keyshawn Johnson, former wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys and other Tampa Bay Bucks and other teams in the NFL. He had just signed an $18 million contract 8 months ago before they fired him. Well, the lettering and the way that the contract was written is they're going to have to pay him that $18 million over the next 3 years anyway, even though they canned him. That sounds like just bad management, but that's what I'm saying. A contract has things in writing for both sides to protect them. And in this case, this is the team getting protected by the contract instead of the player. Whereas, like with Keyshawn, he's getting protected by the contract to get his money, even though they fired him. So, multi-million dollar contracts, they're very serious. And people can be litigious and they can get really mad if you null and void. And, the stuff that James Harden's been pulling with this contract stuff and wanting to get traded and strong arming stuff, the stuff that Ben Simmons did, the stuff that Kawhi did to get to Toronto, they don't want more of this. They don't want to see this pattern. They don't want other players in the league to see James Harden the way he moves and be like, I want to do what James is doing more of. No, they don't need more James Hardens in this league. So in some ways, they've got to come to these guys and say, all right, listen, you guys need to start fulfilling your contracts and taking them seriously and not going other places and trying to fuck up things or something like that just because you're unhappy or something like that. I get it, Shere Khan. In some ways, you're uncomfortable because, in the right to work kind of world, you work in a job, you can leave whenever you want to. These guys may feel like prisoners because of these situations. And they often do, I bet, some of them, so it is what it is. There's a good and a bad with being an NBA player. And in some ways, the very, very good is very intense, but also the very bad can be very intense also. So it's just the way it balances out. Stargate saying Kenny Anderson didn't want to play up here either. Yeah. Yeah, Kenny Anderson. Fuck him too. Fuck you, Kenny Anderson, that married Tammy from the real world. And then they got a divorce because he cheated on her. Yeah, fuck you, Kenny, for cheating on Tammy from real world. Yeah. All right, Mischief saying, thank you, Lex, for saying it. Thank you, Mischief, for being here on a Sunday with me. Kareem Thomas, good to see you. As always, I wish I could see your message, but you took it back. And Monique saying, hit the like button and subscribe. Real fans only. I like it. Shere Khan saying, in a lot of ways, this is like a business partnership. The drafted players are told that, hey, we are going to team up for 4 years. And after that, it's up to you. Trade requests may have to be handled differently. Yeah. The whole market around trades and like the social media and the content and the stories, the Woj sham stuff, the speculation. Some people are just being employed by making up bullshit about trades and putting clickbait out like crazy right now. Mike Luciano. Yeah, I'm talking about you, motherfucker. People like this. This may hurt that industry to a degree because people understand that the NBA is not fucking around with this kind of shit. And that, we're going to be maybe like not buying into the whole rumor market of stupid kind of content at this point. It'd be like maybe less and less kind of like speculation because we're finding out the realities of trades because the NBA can be like this. So I don't know. I would like to see a dip in the amount of that kind of bullshit speculation and clickbait content and that kind of stuff around. But I know there's probably still going to be around because there's money to be made and people will be clicking on it. They want to fool people with stupid ass headlines that make you just click. And that's all they want. They don't care if you learn anything. They don't even care if they give you anything of importance. They just want that click. And that shit will be there no matter what. Watch. They will still try and make you clickbait. But will it change the way these rumors come out? And will it change the way that the fans can understand, well, this is full of shit because this obviously can't happen anymore because the NBA said that you can't say this anymore, So I think that that'll help in some ways. But any way of lessening the noise and making some of these clickbait artists go away, I'm for it. Seriously, we kind of are sick of this shit. I think that a lot of sports fans in general, not just Raptors or NBA fans, are just sick of this culture we're living in with the 24/7 rumors and the garbage stuff that's just put out there, just the made up bullshit that is just out there so prevalent these days. It's worse than it's ever been. Well, maybe some of this stuff that's happened with the NBA will help lessen it a little bit. I hope so. Let's see. Kareem saying Dennis the Menace at point or the Scotty Barnes project. What do you prefer? All right, Kareem. Thanks for bringing up Scotty. I went and watched the King's Castle one-on-one clip from Remy workouts yesterday, where he was going in and out playing against Marvin Bagley and Andre Drummond, a couple other guys. And listen, I understand Scott doesn't look exactly great in that clip, but whoever's chicken littling over that shit, you're crazy. You're seriously crazy. First of all, that clip was not edited. It did not show only the highlights. It was showing everybody's misses and everybody's kind of fuck ups. And honestly, you cannot take anything from a one-on-one kind of situation of importance. And Scotty was goofing around. In some ways, that was not the most sound moves, and he wasn't really. In some ways, I could say he wasn't trying as hard as he could have too. So anybody who's basing any opinions about what Scotty's going to be this year off of the Remy workout, King's Cat Court, fucking one-on-ones with Andre Drummond and Marvin Bagley, just stop. Seriously, what the fuck? Are you an idiot? Why would you base anything from that? That is, first of all, is a one-on-one situation. It's a casual situation. It's a silly situation. And, they were showing the other guys fucking up just as much as Scotty, too. So it's like, what is the big deal? So he missed some shots. So he shot a little off balance. Okay, whatever. You guys are way overreacting, and you need to chill out. I think that this is what I think. I think both of them will start, Kareem. And Schroeder will be like the starting defensive point guard / shooting guard on offense, but not shooting. More kind of just like being around and hanging around as a guard, maybe shooting sometimes. But Scotty will play point guard, but defensively he'll play like a forward or something like that. That's what I think will happen, Kareem. So I prefer Scott to play point guard if he's going to not cause a lot of turnovers and he's going to look really good. I want Scott to do that. But if it's not looking good, if he's not, if he's turning the ball too much, he's making too many careless mistakes, he's not having good judgment, then yeah, I'd like a old vet like Dennis to take over. But in some ways, Dennis isn't really a point guard. In some ways, he can play, he can pass, he can do that stuff, but it's not what he's known for. And in some ways, we're more destined to have a point forward system this year, really because of the roster we have. In some ways, you could say Malachi could be starting point guard. Yeah, but he's not totally proven. Jeff Doughton, yeah, he's back up. But Dennis is not totally like, the end all be all kind of point guard. And in some ways, I want to do the point forward with Scotty and Pascal being like the main guys who distribute, kind of like some of the stuff we were doing last year. So we'll have to see. Shirkan saying, just like any team can trade if not satisfied with the player, there should also be something other way around. When a player is not satisfied, break the contract. But the problem is trade assets lost. Yeah, there's no way you can do this, Shirkan. This is the whole trick of it all, is that, the team and the player have to really think about the time frame they're signing on the bottom line for and really realize that's a commitment. That's a commitment. If you make a 7-year deal with a team, you better realize 7 years is a long time and things can change over that time and you may be unhappy at certain times. It sucks, but this is the way business is done in this world. You sign a contract, you're supposed to hold up to it. And I get what you're saying, that they can be traded and the team can decide they don't want them around anymore. Where's their flexibility in deciding? Well, that's why you kind of come up with player options or team options in the contract. So it's like, if you're really worried about this, make some of your years player options, and maybe you can opt out if you're not very happy. It really is. You have to have some foresight and understanding. And also, in some ways, you got to look at the franchise you're dealing with. And are they capable? Are they going to be building towards something good? Or are you going to be in a bad situation of losing and you may not like it after a couple years of being there? Like Fred. Fred really had to think about this when he went to Houston. Is like, do you want this money? Well, you're going to have to maybe deal with losing and maybe have to deal with a situation that's not the most comfortable or fun, like it was in Toronto in some ways. So it's a very interesting kind of thing. So I don't know how to deal with this. In some ways, these guys are paid contractors, and if you get a contract, you better fulfill it, and that's what it is. Trevor's saying that's what I was talking about yesterday. Those fans are idiots. They're assholes. Yeah, well, they're first of all, they're unrealistic and they're silly. To me, I use the term chicken little all the time. This is where people panic before they need to. This is when people think the sky's falling, and it's really like worse than it is. I hate these kind of fans. They're like, oh no, Scotty's gonna be so horrible this year because he was in a one-on-one situation at a Remy workout. That's such ridiculous line of thinking. You cannot judge anything from that. First of all, you don't know if he wasn't even going that hard in those. First of all, they were playing 5-on-5s, regular run stuff, and then maybe they did the King's Court after they were all tired and they're just kind of screwing around at the end. That whole part of that was like so informal and not really something that anybody should be gauging anything about anything with. One thing I will say is, once again, Andre Drummond looks quicker than ever and skinnier than ever and moving around like crazy. It's like, I shouldn't say this because I know y'all will be playing fantasy basketball with me, but that dude looks like he's going to be a good fantasy basketball player this year. Andre Drummond. I don't know what's going on with him, but if this dude shows up and he starts playing like a crazy year this year, tell him that the Raptors Freak pointed this out in the summer already, and that something's really weird is happening with Drummond, because something's, I have a feeling this year is going to be weird with him. Like, he's going to be very, very good and like in a weird way. And I don't even understand it. Monique saying, plus that wasn't even a real game. Well said, Lex. Go Scotty. Yeah, it's not a game. It's not a game. They're literally switching out, tagging in and out. And all they're doing is trying to beat one guy to beat him to the basket. And Scotty's goofing around. Like, he was trying to do like turnaround shots over guys. You know, it wasn't like he was taking his best shots. If he really wanted to beat those guys, he would have backed them down every single time and fucking put a little baby hook over their heads every single time. No, he was taking outside shots just to kind of screw around. And yeah, sure, they didn't look exactly right. You know, part of it was that his shot wasn't on in that clip. You know, he was taking good open shots. It's just the mechanics, and he wasn't dialed in exactly right. And they just weren't going in at that time. You guys overreact and read into things so quickly in so stupid ways. Like, seriously, y'all love Scotty or not? Why are you going and dissing him like this? Who are these people that are chicken littling right now about Scotty Barnes and his workout at Remy? It's so stupid. Get over yourself. Maybe go find some other things to do than over speculate on Scotty Barnes' performance in his summer workout session at Remy Workout. It's so crazy. It is so crazy. Mischief is saying, you want to get Lex going? Just name players who didn't want to play for the Raptors. Sure, seriously. And there's a couple different ways you can get me going. But yeah, these guys are guys that I have no respect for. Alonzo Mourning, whenever they bring up him or say he's great and stuff like that, fuck him. He's not that great. What is he so great for? You know who's better? Patrick Ewing. You know who's better? Dikembe Mutombo. Yeah, fuck Alonzo Mourning. Whatever, this idiot. Fuck. Yeah, I've never liked Alonzo. I used to kind of like him when he was on Charlotte with Larry Johnson and Muggsy. Those were kind of cool days, like when they were playing the Celtics in the playoffs. Those were some epic little Charlotte and Boston series. Those were probably the best things that ever happened to the Hornets franchise in their whole entire history, was when they had Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning, and they were playing in the playoffs against the Celtics and Larry Bird. And, you know, I kind of liked him then. I hated him on the Heat. And then when he did that shit to us in the mid 2000s, I was like, oh, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy is what I say. Yeah. Wayne's saying a lot of these stories are just clear lies. Summer sports is scarce and we're sort of hungry for content, but just go out and enjoy other things in life. If you're inside, watch Raptor Freak and a Drake concert. There you go. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for the endorsement. Yeah, if you're inside, watch me or go to a Drake concert or something like that. You know, it's just boredom, I guess. You're right. They're just grasping for straws and just trying to figure stuff out. Thank God Rico Hines runs. Different things are coming up. They had the crossover yesterday. Marjon Beauchamp got 83 points, breaking Malachi's record yesterday. A crazy amount of points. I don't understand how you get 83 points in a Pro-Am game. Are people just stepping aside and letting you just fucking do whatever you want? Like, seriously, who's trying to stop this guy? Once he gets to 60, is anyone trying to stop him? Why the hell do you let him get to 83 points? And how the fuck does he do that? And how long is this game? 2 hours? I don't get it. I'm like, how the fuck did he score 83 points? There must be really shitty guys on the other team is what I'm saying. Shir Khan saying, oh, did anyone watch the latest Scotty video? That was being his real bully ball, passing, blocking, and dunking. Scotty is a future GOAT. Better believe that Raptor Freak family. He has the attitude and ability for sure. Yeah, he tell you, don't doubt him. He's got it. He's coming. I believe this too. His content's been great. The stuff I've been seeing. Well, all right, let's do the Instagram real quick, because Scotty was on Instagram a little bit last night. First, Precious is in Europe. He's definitely in Europe. I think he might be in Sweden. I'm not totally sure. He was having dinner with some friends, but he has the What If Unlimited camp going on, and it says Stockholm, Sweden. So maybe he's at that one, but maybe he has multiple camps in different places. He's got a really nice picture of a really ornate, crazy picture art in some crazy old building. And then there he is with the bottle caps again. This one says "Love You." It's got like a little kiss heart and you on the bottle cap. So he's all about these cryptic bottle caps, like BFF and love you and stuff like that. So Precious, you do what you're doing, and whatever camp you're doing, whether it's in Europe or Africa coming up, just enjoy yourself and give back to the community and teach the youngins some basketball wherever you are. Dennis is really putting on blast his new his stuff. He's got a shirt that says "That's tough." So Dennis Schroeder has definitely got some new stuff, and he was cheering on Germany yesterday, playing against Serbia in under 18 FIBA basketball, cheering on the younger German team in a game yesterday. Let's see what else, and then he's also once again putting on blast his big brother, Shayesin Seka. He has the shoe company, and he wants you to follow him. If you want to win Dennis's gaming chair that he's giving away, you better go give a follow to his big brother. Big brother. Yeah. All right, Scotty, last night watching the UFC, he thinks that the card is fire. And then we see later on, he is watching the UFC with his buddy Lloyd. Lloyd is actually at Scott's house with him watching UFC last night. This is cool because last summer, Lloyd had never actually really met Scotty. They were just friends from playing 2K online and playing video games, and they became friends that way. Well, we're seeing Scott around Lloyd a couple times this summer. He was with him when they went to the islands, and now we see him watching UFC with Scott at his house. So it's really good that Scott's got regular friends like Lloyd around and just kind of keeping it real with him. And Scotty can just have a friend that doesn't, just wants to be friends with him. I'm sure there's Lloyd. I've talked to Lloyd before a lot. And Lloyd is just this dude who just wants to be a good friend to Scott. It's not like he has any ulterior motives. He just wants to be there and just kind of be a friend to an NBA player. And that's kind of how they were. They were friends before Scott came to the NBA. They were friends online when he was at FSU during the lockdown, and that's kind of when they met. They started playing video games together. But it's cool that they're friends in real life now. I really like that. Marquise Noel in the Raptor Red workout stuff in the gym, looking good. Marquise is fully embracing being a Raptor. He's got a big picture of the CN Tower at night. He's obviously back in Toronto again right now. He says he's the chosen one. God don't play about me. So don't mess with him. He's coming for things, and he is a chosen one. He's watching the boxing. There were two events last night. There was a boxing match and there was a UFC match. And different people were watching different stuff. Noel was watching the boxing match, and Scotty was watching UFC. Let's see. Also, Marquise very happy with the guy who won the boxing match. Ron Harper Jr. celebrating an Eagles player. I'm not sure for what. And then also he's at a friend's wedding this weekend. The bride and groom getting their first dance, and they're throwing the guy up in the chair, and he's throwing off his jacket like he's crazy. Yeah, so Ron's at a wedding this weekend, it looks like. Siakam putting on blast a flashback Friday of his PS43 Foundation, giving the computers to the kids in the community. Always good stuff in that way. Now, real quick, Fred VanVleet himself was at the actual boxing match that Marquise was watching. So he was at ringside. There were actually quite a few NBA players in attendance at that boxing match, and Fred was one of them, just a few rows back. It looks like he's behind G40 from the Golden State Warriors fans and the rapper G40 guy who got in trouble with the fans in the crowd during the Sacramento Golden State playoff series this past year. So there's your Instagram and check. A lot of fights last night. The Raptors and former Raptors, all about them, all about watching the UFC and the boxing last night. So, yeah, good stuff. Let's see. Iceman saying, I feel like Harden will be starting the season with the Sixers. No trade makes sense for Philly unless they can get 3 or 4 teams involved. Reporters are recycling old trade storylines to get hits and views. Yeah, they do that. I feel like that's kind of what the thing has been happening with OG the last couple of years. It's like they just recycle some old rumor about OG like 2 years ago, and they just put it out like it's new again. Yeah, I've gotten that feeling before with OG and Pascal at different times. And it seems like that's true about this thing with the Harden's going to be drawn out. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Is he going to show up all overweight because he's unhappy about being a Sixer still? Will he be a problem? Will he be an issue for Nick and trying to run this team as a distraction just because he's still around and they can't move him? They haven't moved him yet. This is something that they got to deal with. Either you deal with it now and hopefully get something done. And even if it's you're getting ripped off in the deal, at least you got James out and you kind of can move forward past him. Or do you let him linger and kind of screw up your season? That's the thing that the Sixers got to really think about right now. You could do good by moving him for less than he's worth just to save your season. Seriously. But they want to keep value equal for what he is. But in some ways, they don't understand that James Harden's value is not what it was 2 years ago when he was in Houston, that he has really sunk his value in the way he has acted. Nobody trusts him anymore. They don't trust him to want to stay in a team. They don't trust him to want to stay in a team for long, and they don't trust him to even in late situations in games situations in playoffs for them to show up. So there's a couple of levels of not trusting James. He's fool's gold in a way. You can be like, yeah, I'd love to get James Harden on this team. Well, what are you going to get? You're going to get a discontented guy who's kind of half-assed there and a problem, or are you going to get the real James? And then even if you get the real James, what if you get real far in the playoffs and then all of a sudden the Eastern Conference Finals, he disappears on you? So I'm just saying, you can't trust James. So in some ways that hurts his value overall in this league. You can't trust him to stay on your team, and you can't trust him when the going gets tough in late playoff situations. So yeah, it's really crazy, really, really crazy. As far as the perception of James and how it's changed, he has sunk his value by acting the way he has in a lot of ways. Let's see. Wayne saying, wow, the haters have no idea of fun. Professional players want to just play ball under no pressure, just playing ball with your peers. Drake's concerts are on YouTube. Go watch them. This is cool. All right. I might have to do that. I might have to check out a Drake concert. It's E40, not G40. G40. I don't know why I said G40. E40. Yeah. E40. Okay. Thanks for correcting me, Stargate. Yeah. It just shows me being a little out of touch. Yeah. G40. E40 was the guy who was sitting at the crowd at the Sacramento game, and they were blaring that horn in his ear over and over again. And he turned around, and he said something, and they thought that maybe there was something racial going on in the whole situation. And then there was a big deal that was brought up about this in the playoffs for a bit with E40. U40. I got to get it right. Sheer Constant. I'm always on Team Duncan or Robinson. Them morning. Never been a huge fan. Hakeem was real good on offense. Dikembe and Rodman on defense. I don't even care about Alonzo at all. Mostly overrated in my opinion. And I felt bad for him with the kidney scare, that health thing. But other than that, fuck him. Even when the Miami Heat were literally fighting the New York Knicks in the 90s, I was rooting for Larry Johnson to knock him in the face. I was rooting for the New York Knicks to beat up on the Miami Heat at that time. I was not for that Heat team. I was an Orlando Magic fan and a Raptors fan, and I did not like the Heat. And I liked the Knicks beating them up. So it was a weird time at that time. Yeah, there's a lot of names you put in there. And I would say, Lonzo's got a weird history. In some ways, he could have been greater than he was. And he's another example of a player that's very good, but I don't think he's a great. He would probably argue with me. I am a great. Of course I'm a great. Look how many All-Stars I got. Look at my accolades. I'm an NBA champion. I'm going to be like, I don't give a shit. You're not great, though. There's things about you that you don't get to that great status. You're very good, but I won't say that you are a great. You are not an NBA great. I would like to reserve this word great to be only reserved for maybe 100 players in the whole history of the NBA, and they are absolutely great. And they're not even going to be the same players that are on the NBA 75. They'll be different players because I think Vince Carter is great. I think Vince Carter is a great player. Now, I don't know if he's he didn't win, he didn't do certain things, but he's great because of things other than winning. He's great for his effect on the country of Canada. He's great for his effect on the dunk contest, and he's great for that kind of stuff. That is greatness in the dunk contest. So in some ways, Vince is great outside of the actual NBA game in the dunk contest. That's where he's great. But I still think that Vince should be considered an NBA great because in some ways what he did was above and beyond anybody else. And it was actually great. That dunk contest that he did in Oakland is considered one of the greatest dunk contests ever. So even though I hate Vince and I hate the way that trade went down, I still think that he is an NBA great and that he should be considered one of the 100 greatest NBA players ever. But Alonzo, no, I shouldn't be. I don't think he should be considered one of the 100 greatest players of all time. No, I don't. Let's see. Nameless is saying Marquise. Chudi la tua bocha, por favor. Don't talk. Just work hard in silence. That's the best way. Work hard in silence and let your work do all the talking. Some advice from my teacher, Nameless, for Marquise Noel. Just don't put it on blast. Just do it, and you show up and make it happen, and they will see. Stargate saying Akeem was great on both offense and defense. Yeah, he was complete at both ends. He was, in fact, a better defensive player than an offensive player in some ways, and he was absolutely unstoppable on offense. You know that we talked about his soccer playing, and then the other sport that he played that he's really made him a good player was handball. Hakeem Olajuwon loved to play handball, and that's part of the reason why he was so good with his timing, with block shots, and things that he did with his hands. He had the same kind of stuff with his hands as he did with his feet with soccer because of playing handball. That's not a sport that people talk about or think about. Handball. It's really not something that's like a very known thing or big deal, but it was something that was very helpful for Olajuwon in his career. Yeah, Olajuwon is honestly, he doesn't get enough credit or talk in the talk about greatest players of the NBA. He is a great. He is definitely a great two-time NBA champion, quadruple double holder. Just a lot of things about Olajuwon is great. He is the epitome of a great center, and he would definitely be on my top 100 greatest NBA players for sure. Olajuwon, he is a great. Kareem saying, I never understood why coaches never gathered up their teams during the offseason. Is it against the CBA? It would be a great advantage for Darko to get this squad up to speed before training camp. I think that a lot of players and teams do this at this point. We kind of did a special report on this last year because we were worried about all the Raptors being at Rico Hines. Was that collusion, or were they breaking team meeting rules in off season by having coaches there and having people there, the whole team? No, because they were all there voluntarily. They had been, they decided on their own. It wasn't that Nick Nurse and the staff said, you guys have to go to Rico Hines runs this summer and all have to work together. No, they didn't do that. They got together on their own and they went on their own volition, and they just showed up on their own dime. Now, if they had paid for them to be there, if they had paid for a facility to be there, then they could get in trouble for it. But because they didn't do any of that, these guys came on their own free will. That wasn't a problem. Now, if the coaches were at the Rico Hines runs, other than Rico Hines, because it was his thing and he was running it, like Jim Sand or Nick Nurse or those guys had showed up and they were giving direction on the court during the Rico Hines runs, that could have been a problem also. I don't know. These rules are not totally clear because it seems like other teams have broken these rules very clearly, like the Lakers in the bubble. And I wonder about like exactly what is allowed and what isn't. I think that the commitment of the Raptors is shown by all of them going to Rico Hines last year, by them mostly going to summer league and supporting the team and sitting in the front row. That these guys on their free time are coming around and spending time around the team and supporting it and doing that kind of stuff. That's really good. So I will bet, it could just be like Pascal and Gary and OG and Scotty get on the phone and they say, hey, let's all meet in Miami and we'll have a workout, all of us together. And that's how they could do this kind of stuff and get around the rules. It's really on the players. The players, if they're connected and they keep in contact, it's like, well, let's all get together and let's like run for a bit. All right. Well, we'll meet you in Miami. I'll come down there and see you, Scotty, at home, and we'll all run around for a bit. Or maybe we'll all meet in Toronto and just meet at the OVO Center real quick and play. As long as it's not dictated by the team and they're saying you have to be here, it's mandatory or you get in trouble, then they won't get in trouble. The only team that got in trouble for this kind of shit was Minnesota a few years back, where they actually paid a charter plane to go around and pick up their players. And then like an owner had a facility, a private facility, and they all came. And in some ways they had to come. Like the Minnesota Timberwolves told them is mandatory. Y'all all have to come to the owner's house and work out here. Well, the NBA got them in trouble and they did get fined for that. So it's really, the word official. Is it official or is it not official? If it comes from the team and they're telling them they have to do it, then it's official and they get in trouble. If it's the guys on their own getting together and saying, "Hey, let's all get together and go do stuff," then it's not. Now, I don't know how it fits with like Darko as far as he's a new coach and like, he's working out Grady. He's like doing stuff at Summer League. Obviously, they can do that. But also, can he like bring guys in during this off season and just kind of hang out with them and pick their brain, or maybe go to the court and work with them individually? Probably. That's probably okay. But if as far as like getting like 5 or 6 of them together and trying to run a practice, that may not be okay. So I don't know. We did a Sunday report on this last year, so there's probably some information in it from last year that may be helpful in this situation. But it's not totally clear, and it seems like the NBA could come after people if they do something really shady with getting together officially with coaches and players on the team's dime. Then they get in trouble. So I think that's kind of what we figured out last year. Because there was a worry. It's like, what are the Raptors doing something wrong at Rico Hines' runs, since their whole team is there and they actually have their a coach, kind of running things. Although we didn't name Rico a coach until after the Hines runs, so it wasn't a big deal, I don't think. Let's see. Trevor's saying, I've been watching the CBL games. Those guys are very good. We've got a lot of young talents in Canada. Very cool. I love hearing that. Honey Badgers and Winnipeg and all the different teams across Canada at this point playing games. And I love seeing Chuck Swirsky back in Canada calling games for CBL. Matt Devlin, Paul Jones, all kinds of different people getting involved in the CBL is fantastic. Good stuff. And growth of basketball in Canada is always good. Basketball in the summertime in Canada is good. And yeah, let's keep going, CBL. This is great. You guys are going to be like the CFL before you know it, and be that Canadian basketball league and on a prominent level. And, it's doing great things for communities like Winnipeg, Brampton. You're bringing people out to kind of go and cheer for a team in their own community. And, it's kind of fun to have your own basketball team in Winnipeg all of a sudden, I'll bet. Probably finding a really good like market of people that love basketball out there that root for the Raptors, but they have their own CBL team now. So very good stuff, Trevor. And I love that you're watching. I wish I could watch more of the games. I don't have cable, and it's hard to find the CBL online. Let's just put it that way. Iceman saying the Raps over the past several seasons gather at Rico runs. Players have outside lives during the off season. They vacation and have family events away from basketball. Most teams gather before camp. Yeah, they stay in touch with each other, and they may go and do events and things together. Like they may go on vacation and hang out together, or go do things, like go to a teammate's wedding, or it's their time. It's a private time to deal with how they want to deal with it. So a lot of them are very dedicated to working out and getting better at this time, and this is where they put in the hard work. Some guys don't work as hard in the summer, and it shows next season. But our guys aren't those kind of guys. They're all working like crazy. Holy crap. Scotty, Pascal, Christian, Gary. We know these guys are kicking butt and working very hard this summer. Marquise Noel. Yeah, these guys are putting in that work right now for sure. Yeah, they'll be getting together in different places, and they may be around each other privately, and we don't even realize it at times. Some of the Raptors are around the Miami area right now, and they may be kind of hanging around a little bit, or at least in contact a little bit. Who knows? Cool Cat saying, yo, good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Yeah, Pascal arranged the Rico run for the players. See, he was a leader last year, and he said, guys, let's come to Rico Hines. He's part of the reason why I'm so good, and he can help you too. So come, please. I am Siakam. I'm the leader of this team, and I want you guys to come and show up and be there. And that's good. Freddie wasn't there for very long, and in some ways he was like, yeah, I'll show up, Pascal, but he was there for maybe like a day or two, and then he took off. That in some ways showed the different levels of commitment for the different guys. It's how long were they at Rico Hines and running around out there? Scotty was there the whole time. Like if there was anybody other than Pascal was there the whole time for sure too. But Scotty was there pretty much the whole time also last summer, from what I remember. But other people popping in for a little bit of time. OG, Precious, Fred. Gary was there for most of the time too. Let's keep going. Monique saying Ryan Schmidt is moving on from London Lightning. I don't even know who that is. What is London Lightning? Monique, sometimes, oh my gosh, you are so in depth. Like I can't go as in depth as you, because obviously you are just watching everything. There's levels to this, Monique. I'm a Raptors freak, and I can go look at Raptor stuff. but I can't catch every single thing in the sports world on everything. And that's just another whole level. And that's you catching every little tidbit of information and things happening. I do not know who Ryan Schmidt is. I don't even know what the team London Lightning is. So I'm confused. I'll let you go ahead and just give us that information. I don't know how to talk about it because I don't know who that is, and I do not know what that team is. Is that basketball? That's what I would say. I know it's the London Lions is the team that OG bought stakes in UK. Is the London Lightning a team in the I don't CBL does not have a team called London Lightning, do they? Like, I'm very confused right now. I don't know who you're talking about. Iceman is saying players will work out with other players who live in the same city during the off season, as well as travel to various summer leagues all around the U.S. and even in Canada. Yeah, and some of it's by university. We just seen Wichita State and Fred and all those guys get together and have some playing around and stuff. Scotty goes back to Florida State, and all of a sudden he's running up and down with the other Florida State and NBA players at Tallahassee. We've seen that. They'll have the Duke guys or Rutger guys will all get together. The Kansas dudes were all together. Grady back in Wichita with all of his buddies from Kansas. They'll do those kind of workouts too by college. And Coloco, he could go back and show up at Arizona and do like Arizona workouts with former Arizona players around the Arizona campus. So it's that kind of stuff. And then also by geography where they're from. Scotty's from Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, down in South Florida. There's other players around that area at that time. Well, they all show up. Andre Drummond, Marvin Bagley. Boom. That's how it happens. So it could be geography. It could be team. It could be your alma mater as far as where you went to college, where you're mingling and playing with different people. And that's really good. It's very, very good that people get like different people around other than your teammates to learn stuff off of also. He could be learning stuff from Andre Drummond right now, Scotty Barnes. So we'll have to see. Cool Cat saying Pascal lives in Florida off season and travels back and forth to Toronto. So he does have a house in Florida. I've heard that rumor, and I know because you really know your Pascal stuff, Cool Cat. Okay. Well, sometimes I see like the really nice beaches and the way things are, and I just figure he's on an island somewhere else. But some of it is sometimes in Florida. Okay, that's good to know. Let's see. Stargate saying, "Hey Lex, is there any chance to have a think tank stream show with yourself, Chev, and Chris of Top Line Sports? All of you have Tallahassee connections. Would be kind of cool. I'd love that. Seriously, I'd love to do like a Tallahassee reminisce show with Chev and Chris." We do have this connection. We all went to TCC. That's actually Tallahassee Community College. We are all people that went to the campus and actually took classes there. Chev saying that was part of why he was in Tallahassee was he was at Tallahassee Community College going to school there. And I know Chris went there also. I went to TCC also. So all three of us went to the same community college, which is kind of funny. I was a sports writer for the TCC Talon. That's what they were called. And I used to cover women's softball and the men's basketball team. And I used to travel with the TCC men's basketball team to other small JUCOs around North Florida and South Georgia. And that was when I scouted a former NBA player that made the NBA. And I was right. I was like, holy shit, this guy's going to make the NBA. And I was right. He did make the NBA from JUCO. It was Chris Porter, and he was playing for the Chipola team in Chipola's in Marianna, Florida. And I saw him play and I was like, this dude's going to be in the NBA. And sure enough, a couple years later, he was on the Golden State Warriors. So it was cool. It was like, that was one of the first times I said, dude, you really got to trust your scout's eye because you do have a really good eye for good talent in basketball. And I said, Chris Porter is going to be in the NBA someday. And that was a tall order to make, considering he was playing for Chipola and Marianna for a JUCO at that time. And he did. And in like the next 2-3 years, he was on the Warriors. So I was like, wow. And I was like, all right, you are a bona fide eye for this because you pointed Chris Porter out years before he actually made it. And that's pretty cool. And, betting somebody from a JUCO is going to make the NBA is a long shot. Let's just put it that way. I would love to do this. I don't know. I'm not in contact with either one of those guys. I have no idea if they know if I exist. They may. It could very well be that Chev understands that the Raptor Freak Nation's out there at this point. You're one of us, Chev. If you do come watch me, you're definitely one of us. And I love Chris, too, being on the West Coast. I know he's more of a Lakers fan in some ways. But yeah, his Tallahassee connection is strong too. And it'd be fun. It'd be fun to have like a weird Skype, like Raptors content makers that have Tallahassee connections kind of thing going there. We could do just reminiscing about things about Tallahassee. Talking about Tallahassee. I used to live near the community college too. I was on that side of town, so it was very much a big part of my life, Tallahassee for sure. Kenrick James is saying London Lightning is the team in London, Ontario, so they're a CBL team. See, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that London had a team. I thought it was like, all right, I knew Guelph had their team changed to go to Winnipeg, but I did not realize London had a team. I just haven't heard them before. This just shows how much I have not paid attention to CBL as I should have, that I don't know all their teams yet. That's pretty bad. Thanks, Kenrick, by the way. Kenrick Chronic Art James. If y'all need a tattoo or some art commission, Kenrick can help you out. You can find him on Facebook under Kenrick Chronic Art James. He's always up for a commission if you need a help. Monique saying he used to coach 905 in London Lions. My bad. No, it's my bad. I don't know. You know, it's my bad, Monique. You are a superior of a smartness of these things than me. You know more than I do, and that's what's being evident here. Let's see. Iceman saying London Lightning is in Canada's other pro basketball league, NBLC. Okay, thank you, Iceman. Even going further, so they're not a CBL team. That's why I don't know who they are. They're in a completely different league that's even more unknown than the CBL, the NBLC. I'm going to guess that's the National Basketball League of Canada, is what that stands for. All right. This is why I have no idea who this person is or that league. I had no idea that team existed. Holy cow. All right. I learned something. There's something called the NBLC. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. Cool Cat saying since Tampa season, he lives there off season. Okay. So he went down there and he saw how it was. And he's like, this is kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and keep my house that I kept from Tampa. It's probably the same house he had to get for about around that time. He could afford it. And he's like, I'll just keep it. Why not? It makes sense. Nameless is saying, question, did the Rico runs cause the participants to run out of gas in the latter half of the season? That's a weird question, but I mean, it's valid. I thought that this is really weird. We were building such good chemistry. We were out there and everybody was saying the Raptors are at Rico just running the floor crazy. And they should be so good to start. A lot of experts were saying the way the Raptors played at Rico Hines runs, they need to come in like a ball of lightning and just kick so much ass at the beginning of the season. Well, in some ways, I think this did actually happen. If you think about the beginning of the season, we were given like a really shitty beginning of the season. It was really difficult. We had to play the Cleveland Cavaliers on opening night. We did beat them at home. And then we had to go and play the Nets on a Friday night and turn around and fly to South Beach and play the Heat on the Saturday next. That's like 3 top Eastern Conference teams right in a row. And at that time, the Nets had Durant and Kyrie Irving still, remember? So it was a tough gauntlet right away. And you know what happened? We went into those games and we actually got half of them, or we did very well. We actually won 3 out of 4 of those games, I believe. We lost the Nets and we lost the 2 games there, but we won the fourth game against Miami. The second game against Miami, we won. So we were 2-2 after that start. So in some ways, we did have the momentum going into the season to kick butt, and we did do really well with a very difficult strength of schedule right at the very beginning. So that momentum from the Rico Hines runs was there. It's just it all kind of went out when Siakam fell at or did the splits at Denver when we played that Denver game, and Siakam got hurt for a month or so. That fucked us up. That kind of ruined the Rico Hines momentum there. And then everything kind of got really difficult after that. So I think that it worked and it did help. And we did have good chemistry at the beginning of the season. It's just we had a really tough strength of schedule at the start. And then the Siakam injury absolutely killed the momentum from the Rico Hines runs. And that's kind of what happened there, is what I feel like. MSJ saying, hey, all, it would be cool if you, Chev, and Chris created a joint website or something, hire some staff, relocate to Vegas, appear on ESPN once in a while. It's a tall order, Chris. And it's not really lining up with what I have for my future plans, that's for sure. That'd be kind of funny. I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I thought about like banding up with other content creators and kind of making a formation. Like we kind of do that already with Logical Raptors Fanatic and Gubstown Clink and a couple other channels. Like I kind of gotten with them, but it's kind of, I don't know. Like I really don't know how much I'm known in other places. I don't expect Chev to know who I am, and I don't expect Chris to either, because in some ways I'm on a different level than them, and it's a different kind of niche kind of thing that I'm doing. Those guys are going for broad appeal, and those guys are kind of like they're what they're doing is different than what I'm doing. Let's just put it that way. And their goals are probably way different than mine also too. So I don't know if I would line up with the same kind of goals as they have. I mean, it sounds like fun. I wouldn't mind doing stuff with them. That's not the issue. It's just in some ways my goals are not the same goals as theirs. My goal is to get a positive Raptor space going, and theirs are kind of, I don't know. Theirs is to make content and be funny and enjoy like watching basketball and commenting on it and giving their knowledge. Sure, but in some ways they're not like doing what I'm doing. In fact, Chris will sell out the Raptors for the Lakers like that. And Sheb, in some ways, he's general NBA. He's covering a lot of different NBA subjects around his channel, and I really do try and tie it very closely to what matters to the Raptors. And I won't go in on like bashing James. I mean, I won't just make a whole stream just about James Harden or something like, or Dame. I guess I have today about Dame Lillard, but let's see. Stargate saying Chris lives in Dallas. Actually, okay, so he lives in Dallas now. I thought he was in LA for some reason, but he's in Dallas. And I know his wife's the one who's the really big Raptors fan. Like they came to Toronto last season and went to a game and had a real blast in Toronto. They said they're going to come back. And I know she's the big Raptors fan and he's kind of a Lakers fan, but he does very much respect the Raptors, which I like. I like that. So that's, yeah, who knows? Any kind of collab with those guys would be fun. I'm not against it. We'll see. Cool Cat saying, Lex, you want to went to the same school as Scott too? Yeah, I went to Florida State, and I know a lot about the school that Scotty went to. Yeah, I went to Florida State and TCC. TCC was kind of like a thing where I took some of their classes in high school because it was AP, and then I kind of went a little bit of TCC after I graduated, but then very much full on right into FSU and at Florida State is where I got my Bachelor of Arts in Writing, is what I got my bachelor in, with a minor in communication and radio. So my degree is in for writing for media in radio. That is my degree. And yeah, and I worked a lot on the radio at FSU. I was on their radio station like crazy in the 90s and the 2000s. Like crazy. Like they know me in Florida from my voice and Tallahassee Airwaves from being on that radio station. So let's see. Yeah, NBA Chev went to the same school years before Scott. Small world. Yeah, I don't even know if Chev went to FSU. I think he probably went to both, but he used to talk about being at TCC, and that's different. It's like the JUCO. It's like the junior college, and it's kind of like you go there and then you go to FSU kind of thing. But I don't remember him saying he was actually a Seminole though. That's a difference. That's a difference. He's definitely a TCC graduate, but I don't know if he actually did. Does he talk about going to Florida State also, or does he just talk about being in Tallahassee? Because that's a difference. There's a couple schools in Tallahassee. There's Tallahassee Community College, there's Florida State University, and there's Florida A&M University. And Florida A&M is another school that's very important to me because that's where my father taught. My father taught architecture at Florida A&M for 40 years, like about that. And so we were a big part of the Rattler family also. I would be going to cookouts and potlucks at FAMU campus because of my dad. And so it was a very important school to me, is the Rattlers. I really, really love that school because that's who employed my father, and that's where he had his career as an architecture professor. So those are the schools there. But I don't know. I don't know if Chev actually went to FSU. I've heard him say he's gone to TCC, but maybe he has gone to FSU also. I didn't know that though. But yeah, Scotty and I are both Seminoles for sure. Let's see. Mischief saying Florida is my second home. My favorite beach in Florida is by Honda Key and Hollywood Beach. So you're more South Florida, Central Florida. Yeah, see, I was North Florida, baby. Might as well be South Georgia. Tallahassee is very much like Georgia. It's not like Palm Beach, Sandy Beach kind of Florida when you think in your head. I really much lived in the swamp. Let's just put it that way. Names is saying ESPN already has Stephen A. Smith, MSJ. Oh, they don't need us. They don't need Chev. They've already got Stephen A. Smith. Have you guys watched his new podcast where he's not wearing any sleeves? And Shaq made fun of him. He's like, you need to put some sleeves on those arms, Stephen A. Smith. And he's talking a lot about politics and not really talking about sports on his new podcast show, other than his stuff he does on TV. Like he was talking about Hunter Biden this week. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this, Stephen? Seriously, you just stick to this kind of stuff. I know you want to talk about all kinds of different subjects and get your personality out there, but it can be very dangerous. Trust me, I know. Oh my gosh. MSJ saying nameless. Nah, I can't see that. But Stephen A. Smith, I'd rather have Chev taking that act worldwide, taking that act worldwide. Smith is a smart analyst, but I don't know. Too Hollywood for me. Chev would be fun. Like it'd be really cool. I'm not a hater, and I'm not trying to stop anybody from being successful. If Chev became somebody who was on ESPN someday, I would be like, yeah, you did it. You made it, man. You made it. I would be so proud of him. Seriously, I have no aspirations that for myself because I'm doing exactly what I want to do right here, right now. I'm not trying to change this. I'm not trying to go big time. I'm not trying to get on TSN. I'm not trying to get on Sportsnet. I'm exactly where I want to be because I want full control and I want to be exactly who I am. And I don't want to sell out. And I have a very specific purpose. I want a place for Raptor fans that love the team and want to have a positive space to talk about it. And that's all that matters to me. I don't care about anything else. Now, Chev has aspirations to go further and get on a big network. Go do it, man. I'd love to see you make it and do that. I'll be so proud of him. I would so be proud of him. All right, let's keep going. Keep Kareem saying, speaking of tattoos, let's try an exercise for everyone. Here, someone holding a gun to your head and says you have to get a tattoo of your favorite Raptors player. Who are you choosing? Mine is T-Mac. That's cool. All right. I don't have any tattoos. I have absolutely no tattoos. 47 and no tattoos. I just never got any. If I had to do this and I had to pick one Raptor player from the history of the Raptors, oh, man. You know what I would do? I would get a JYD tattoo. I'd get a JYD. I'd get a Jerome Williams tattoo, and it wouldn't be like a regular like Jerome Williams. It would be like a dog pound tattoo. It would be like a dog pound 13, kind of tattoo. It would be alluding to JYD, but it wouldn't be like his face or anything like that. It'd be a dog pound Raptors, go get it kind of tattoo. That's what I would get. I'd get a JYD one. He's not even that he's my favorite player or anything like that. It's just I like the idea of that kind of concept. Is like that hustler, that unsung hero, the guy who's not the star, the guy who's just doing the good stuff, the dirty work. Yeah, I'd want to honor JYD. So I would probably get a JYD tattoo or maybe a Muggsy tattoo. I might get a little short guy, hard over high. It doesn't really fit for me because I'm very tall. But, if a Marquise got a Muggsy jersey, not a jersey, a tattoo that said height, heart over height, that'd be badass too. That'd be badass too. All right. Let's see. Cool. I wonder what other people would say. Go ahead and answer Kareem's question if you want about what tattoo would you get if you had a gun to your head. You have to get a Raptors tattoo right now. What tattoo would you get? Cool Cat saying Raptors lost the Rico summer run when Pascal went down. Yeah. Players lost confidence with the losing when he was out. Play style and hierarchy changed and never recovered. Yeah, Nick did not manage this well. He didn't make good decisions in the time after this. He overplayed certain guys. They got in danger of getting hurt themselves. He didn't smooth this out in the right way. Something happened in Orlando when we played the Magic and lost those 2 games in a row that broke us. And it's something happened where they turned him off. They stopped listening to him. And then the results showed on the court. When we lost to the Orlando Magic, one of the worst teams in the league last year, 2 games in a row in Orlando, that was when everything went south for the whole entire year. And then after that, shortly, we had a blowout loss to the Pelicans, a blowout loss to the Nets and Kyrie Irving with big shots at the end of the game. And that really solidified we're fucked and we're in a bad place. Because, at those times in some of those games, it signified they'd given up. We saw that the dog was not present and that the Raptors weren't putting in that effort to try and come back like relentlessly like they had done for years. That's what scared the shit out of me about last season is we saw the Raptors okay with rolling over and dying. And I was not okay with it myself. And it was signified around that Orlando weekend with that 2 games in a row in Orlando. And then the whole stupid get blown out by Zion and the Pelicans, and then Kyrie and the Nets 2 games in a row. Yeah, that was bad. That was very bad. And it was weird because we had had really good stuff before. Like we had weathered the really tough schedule at the very beginning. We had the blowout of the Atlanta Hawks on Halloween, followed by a blowout of the San Antonio Spurs on the very next game. We had had some really good success early in the season where we were rolling in a way. And then Siakam did the splits in Dallas, and then boom. It was really, really hard. Nick did not manage things well enough after that to make up for this. And in some ways, we should never be in this kind of position where it's like, I know Siakam, he's probably our best player, but we should never be in a position where we lose one guy that we have such bad stuff happen that badly without him. There's always next man up mentality. And that's what we had done. We could be missing Kawhi, missing the very best player on our team, and still could have a winning effort and a good, like some other people rising up to take that stuff. Not, that didn't happen. And I feel like something weird was going on. Why did it not happen? OG was trying. OG was putting up some big games. He had that fantastic game against the Knicks. He's had some really good, fantastic games in the absence of Siakam, but it wasn't consistent and it wasn't adding up to consistent winning. And that's the thing that bugged me. That really, really, really bugged me. Let's see. Nameless saying, would Pascal have still gotten injured had he not logged all those man hours at runs? You know, that injury was a fluke. It really wasn't anything to do with Rico Hines or anything. It was just his feet, and the floor was wet, and it's one foot slipped out from him, and he kind of tore his groin. He kind of like, he did the splits too quickly. The floor was wet. Mark Cuban, you fucking keep your floor on wet, Mark Cuban, you bastard. And he slipped, and he did the splits, and he kind of like his groin. And and then boom, he's out for a month. And we didn't recover from that for the whole rest of the season. Cool Cat's exactly right. It really was that. But I don't think it was Rico Hahn runs. I think it was a wetness on the floor, and he just was a fluke accident, and it sucks that it happened. It totally sucks. Let's see. Mischief saying Nick Nurse overplayed our starters, and every starter got injured. Reason why the Raptors were a 500 team. A healthy Raptor team would have been 700. There you go, Mischief. I like that. I like that. We don't know. That could have been very damn true if none of our guys had gotten hurt. Pascal first, and then Precious. That Precious injury after the Pascal injury did not help things with our depth. No, it did not. And Gary was in and out with injuries at different times too. Cool Cat saying, Lex, that's why you run a great YouTube show. Your skills show. I applied to FAMU, but chose TO for post-secondary. Cool. Very cool. FAMU is a fantastic school. I know they're having a controversy right now because this guy, Richie, he made a video in their football locker room. Really a dumb video. He's talking about drill ops bullshit and like blitz this and stuff. And they're wearing the Rattlers jerseys and they're in the locker room. Well, they suspended the team indefinitely because they allowed this guy to come in and make this rap video in their facility. You know, the Rattlers team gets shafted in weird ways all the time. Like they lose stuff all the time because of like misbehavior and weird stuff. In some ways, I don't like the way that team's treated. I get it. That was a very poor choice to make that video in that locker room, especially with the content of the song and some of the things they were singing about, as far as like some of the stuff that's just in hip hop music that's just not like good for like if you're trying to have like an institution like FAMU football. You don't want it associated with guys going blah, 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 and like we gonna go fuck your girl and like do this and it's like there's no place for that connection with that higher institution of learning. You know, you really degrade it and make it look bad by doing that. So I completely understand their reaction to this video and why they're suspending it, but it also seems like it's a little bit overkill too. It's like I get it. Can you maybe get the people who are in charge of getting this together and punish them instead of punishing the whole damn team? Seriously, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's cool that you applied at FAMU. It's a great school. It's underrated. And that school of architecture is fantastic. It's one of the best schools of architecture in the United States. It very much is. Yeah. I appreciate that too. Yeah. A lot of time just doing sports radio and also call-in shows and also just regular DJing on the radio in Tallahassee. I had a lot of fun there. I used to do the metal show on Wednesday nights. Sometimes on Sunday mornings, I'd be on from around now doing the blues show. Yeah, I play blues music in the Sunday morning from like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. I used to love those kind of shifts, getting up at like 5 a.m. in the morning, going to the station and doing the traffic show, the Caffeine A Go-Go. the morning show during the week when people are in their traffic going to school and class and work. I was the guy on the radio getting them pepped up to go to work and go to school, doing the morning radio show. Yeah, I used to do all kinds of goofy stuff on there. You see me do goofy stuff on here. Well, there was radio goofy stuff I did before. Let's see. Kenrick saying one JYD tattoo coming up. Yikes, Kenrick. I don't know if I was going to get a tattoo, maybe I'd get you to do it if I ever get a tattoo for sure. But in some ways, I really like that I don't have one. Partly, it's also because my 101-year-old grandmother forbid me from ever getting one, and I try to be a good boy to her. And she's like, "Don't ever get a tattoo, Alexi. It is a self-abuse," is what she told me. I was like, she's old and she's Estonian. She's 101. So I mean, I want to please her. I just never got him, and maybe I'm a big wussy too. I was like, no, don't put the needle on me. But Kenrick, I'll keep it in mind. Seriously. Cool Cat saying, yeah, JYD tattoo would be the best, but not getting any. She's with me. She's with me. She's not getting a tattoo either. Name is saying I'm a rattler too. A rattler snake. It's a great school. Rattler Strike. Yeah. Yeah. I love the Rattlers. I really do. I have a very strong connection with them from being a little kid and being on that campus and running around. We found our first cat in Tallahassee on campus at FAMU. We're just hanging out in the parking lot at the School of Architecture, and I'm a little kid, and there's this cat that's just in the parking lot hanging around. And I'm like, Dad, can we take this cat? And we took it home. It's just like memories like this. I'm just telling you. I can remember going to FAMU and being there for the eclipse and watching like the eclipse through the welder's mask and watching a solar eclipse. Like I have a lot of good memories of the big hills of FAMU for sure. MSJ saying, I grew up in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Great times on Mandalay Avenue. Yeah, Mandalay. Pier 60. And Stephen A. Smith does want to be a political talking head. I see Chev going far, as it seems it's his goal too. Yeah, he has different aspirations than me. In some ways, I don't want to be big time. In some ways, I don't want too much attention. I want the right people to find me, and I want to do the right stuff. And once again, this is not about me making money. That's not what my goal is. My goal is to give positive fandom to the Raptors and more people and make it more cool and make it more like the common in the Raptors nation and less of the trolling, the bullshit, and the negative fucking fans. I want to have real fans that really do love this team and support it. And I'm sick of these half-ass fans that say they're Raptors fans, but they really put the team down all the time. And I'm not about that. We need to respect and love our team the right way. And if you're not treating your team like that, in some ways, you treat the way you treat the Raptors is more a statement of how you treat yourself, or maybe how you look at the world than actually the Raptors' state of affairs. Because in some ways, perception comes from your inside your head, and you look out the lens of your own brain. And if your brain is very negative and just pessimistic and Debbie Downer, well, you're going to see a lot of things like that. So you can train your brain to be more positive. Come and talk to us. That's what I'm saying right there. Sheb, you go as far as you can. Dana's saying, I already have 2 Raps tats. That's cool, Dana. Can you describe them to us? Like, I'd love to know what your Raptors tats are. It's kind of cool. Maybe we'll do like a Raptors tattoo stream one day where everybody can talk about the different tattoos they've got for the Raptors. Fiercely saying, yep, Pascal's injury seemed to be the beginning of the turning point. Losing back-to-back against Orlando was also weird. Yeah, I was like, all right, we can lose one game to Orlando, but we for damn sure better win the second game. And the second game was even worse than the first game and more pathetic. I was like, something's wrong with this team. Something is very wrong with this team. This is not the Raptors. These are imposters. This is not the same team with dog spirit that Kyle Lowry led for a long time while he was here. No, it wasn't. And Chris Boucher said it. The dog went out the house. They let the dog out. Who let the dogs out? Woo, 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 woo. Where did they go? Nameless is saying, yes, Lex, you got my joke and reference. Laugh out loud. Awesome. I don't even remember. All right, let's keep going. Race Mo's Daily here. Good to see you, Edmund. It's been a little bit. I hope you're having great travels with your family and work and all kinds of stuff this summer, Race Mode. I had to clip your comment about the JYD tattoo and sent him a text message with the link. JYD is legend. I love that. Listen, I love Jerome. And he knows me. He knows about me. He saw the trivia we did on him. And then also, he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I've interacted with him directly in messages. So I've met him in person. I've got pictures of him with me. And also I have the signed jersey here of his. And then G got the signed practice jersey by him for the first season of trivia. So he is, I think he's slightly aware of me. In fact, JYD may be more aware of me than Chev is, which is kind of funny and ironic in some ways. But hey, Edmund, if you want to put me in JYD's face today for that clip, I'm all about it. I would definitely get a Jerome Williams tattoo. If I ever get a tattoo, it would be a Raptors Jerome Williams tattoo. Yeah. Geo7 Mads here. Good to see you again, Geo. We need Lowry's leadership. All right, well, let's think about this. With Lowry left and Fred took over and kind of stepped in his shoes. Well, now Fred's gone. So now we're going to have to figure out who's going to be this guy. Now, Scotty's saying he's going to be that guy. And I agree, he probably will be to an extent, but he's still a young Padawan in a way, too. He's not a full Jedi yet. And we're going to need Scotty to kind of like, he can do the ceilings of like being the man and being the captain of the team. But in some ways, he really does need to be enhanced by vets around him like Jakob and Pascal and OG and Chris and Thaddeus and Otto and Dennis. You know, these guys, there's a collective of leadership on this team, and there isn't really any clear-cut guy like Lowry or Fred at this point. And I don't want Dennis to come in and be that guy. He shouldn't, because he's new. And I don't think Thaddeus or Otto should be that guy because they're not focal enough, even though they're the older guys on the team. You know, Siakam could do this. In some ways, he's showing signs of taking more of a approach of being the man and really being that leader vocally and like being the captain and just being that dude. And I think in some ways that would be the best fit because he's the best player on the team in some ways. He has the most accolades. And in some ways, you want your captain to be your best player. So if Siakam is ready in his personality to blossom into that guy that's more outspoken, taking more responsibility and taking like ownership of you guys need to go and take care of what you need to take care of, and I'm holding you accountable, I'm all for it because he naturally should actually probably be our captain this year, Siakam. But I know Scotty has more probably initiative to want to be the captain than even Siakam does. But Siakam, it just seems like it's naturally should be him right now, at least for now. Now that could change very quickly, and it could be more like Scotty is the captain of the team, and he is kind of the more head of being the leader. But in some ways, it really should be Siakam, OG to an extent too. Like OG should be stepping up and being more of a leader himself. He's getting older and he's experienced, and he's that kind of guy that should be kind of like that to a degree. But it's not totally his personality. You know, Jakob, very intelligent player that could be a good leader on defense in different places also. So I don't know if there'll be actually a for sure just this guy is our C, our captain, like Fred was last year, this year. Fiercely saying, I feel confident with Darko. Grizzlies played really well without their number one, Ja. He wasn't the head coach, but surely had intel on how to play without him. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out exactly how much of Memphis's success in the last few years is tied into Darko being a top assistant underneath Taylor Jenkins. You know, Taylor Jenkins shouldn't be disregarded as obviously being the head coach and running things and doing a lot of things for there. But how much of was the Darko kind of like smoothing things over, being the people person in the middle? Because I think that's what he did. Was he's very much a glue kind of relationship guy. Like he keeps everybody together and on the same page and in unity. And that may have been his biggest role on the Grizzlies. Is maybe Taylor's kind of doing administrative and head coach and leading, but Darko was in charge of kind of keeping everybody connected. And maybe that's what we'll see as far as things. I don't know. I may be just talking on my ass on this because there's no real way of like distinguishing what is Darko and what is Taylor Jenkins from the Grizzlies. Well, we'll see if we see some shades of the Grizzlies in this year's Raptors, and then we'll know what it was. If we see something like, wow, this is kind of like what the Grizzlies were do, or like this vibe. It's like, look at the vibes, the way they're dancing in the hallway on the way out, like Dylan Brooks and those guys did last year. Yeah, maybe this is what Darko brought. Who knows? We'll have to see. And I'm all about being able to play without guys if you have to. This is the way the NBA is. Kawhi Leonard is going to get load managed. You're going to need guys to step up and be there instead. And that's what I'm saying. We got Pascal, we got OG, we got Scotty. These guys need to step up, depending on who's there or who isn't, and really step up and lead the team to victories. You guys are the top three guys on this team. Let's do this year. You guys go get it, is what I'm saying. MSJ saying, I'm looking forward to Dennis, actually. I have this thought that he will pick up the pace and pass the ball up the court. I really see him as surprising us. Jalen McDaniels off the bench might surprise too. Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking about Jalen McDaniels enough. We've really kind of forgot about his acquisition to being on the Raptors. He could be very interesting. In fact, he could be a weird X factor this year because he could get unlocked further. I had no confidence that they were using him correctly in Charlotte the last couple years. I had no confidence in some ways that kind of shows that he could possibly be more like his brother in Minnesota with the right direction, the right kind of instruction, the right kind of development guys around him. So we could see McDaniels be a very, very capable contributor to the Raptors in winning this year, and a very pleasant surprise. I love that. I think you're right. And the Dennis stuff is going to be fun. The Dennis stuff is going to be fun. People are going to love Dennis. Dennis is a fan favorite a lot of places he goes to because you cannot deny the effort and the sheer competitiveness of Dennis Schroeder. And when you see him work on the court and how hard he's going to try and do things for the Raptors to win, we're all going to love him. We're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what Dennis did in that game. Just that doggedness or that defensive play he made and how that totally turned things right at the end of the game. It's going to be that kind of stuff we're going to be saying. So both those guys are great additions to our team on the down low that nobody's going to talk about. Nobody's going to put that on blast or bring it up. Dennis Schroeder and Jalen McDaniels put on the Raptors this year and how much of an impact they possibly could have. And that could be part of what fleshes out and makes us have more bench depth is having a McDaniels and a Schroeder on the team all of a sudden. I'm telling you, we could have actually a better bench, partly because those two guys are here. Let's see. Monique saying, if I could have gotten a tattoo, a Raptors tattoo, it would be the logo with the Larry O'Brien. There you go. Monique is a champion. She's a community champion. She's a Raptors freak champion. She is a champion in our fan base, and she would get that Larry O'Brien put on her. That is a perfect tattoo. In fact, I don't know why I didn't say that. Which Raptor would you like on your tattoo, Lex? I want Larry O'Brien. That's the Raptor I want. Yeah, Monique, you go. You go. We have to get Kenrick to come see you. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, love to hear we have our own celebrity media personnel. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. We got different people in different places doing different things. There's a lot to do there. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, Chev said he was offered media jobs but turned it down. He likes doing his own stuff on his own time. See, I love that independence too myself. This is very much uh, uh, responsibility to me. It is something that I don't take lightly. But in some ways, if somebody was forcing me to do it, I would not like doing it as much. I'm forcing myself to do it, and I'm doing it like very diligently and not missing days. But if it was somebody like, you have to do this, it's your responsibility, I may be like, I don't want to do this. I'm a very rebellious person. So in some ways, I get why Chef's turned stuff down already. Well, maybe he's waiting for the right offer, or maybe the right thing. Who knows? Cool Cat saying, my two favorite Raptors from prior years are JYD and Alvin Williams. Yeah, they're two of my favorites too. Alvin was like my favorite Raptor up until the Lowry years. And then it's kind of cloudy at this point. Like the more recent Raptors are really kind of at the top of my favorite Raptors at this point. But Alvin was my favorite for longest time. Like he really was. From right when he was on the team, he was my favorite when he was in that series with New York and he was hitting those big shots and like helping us win our first playoff series ever. And then, the things that happened with the Vince fallout and the way he acted afterwards, I was like, yeah, Alvin's just a real one. He's a real Raptor. And I love Alvin Williams. He is like my favorite Raptor from like the early days, and he will be forever. But the more recent Raptors, some of these guys I really do like a lot, like Boucher, Barnes, Pascal, OG. These guys, I really do like these guys a lot. I really love DeMar. I love Jonas. There's a lot of different Raptors recently that I have a lot of love for. So it's made it very blurry who I like. But JYD and Alvin were two of my favorites, and that's why their jerseys are on my wall. There's no Vince Carter jersey there. There's no Chris Bosh jersey there. There's a Muggsy Bogues, an Alvin Williams, and a JYD jersey. And there's a reason why those three jerseys are there. Mischief saying NBA Chev has talked about Raptor Freak recently in one of his videos. Okay, so he does know who I am. Ooh, he knows who I am. Ooh. Okay, that's cool. In some ways, it's not about me personally. It's about all of us. We're an entity. We're Raptors Freak Nation. It's Tom Duke holding it down in the West Coast and Victoria, British Columbia with Joseph Starks and Shane Waters. And then we got people like Isaac and Fiercey in Ottawa. We've got people all over this country. We are a nation. So when they say the word Raptor Freak, they mean all of us. And I'm just the guy on the station, on the channel, but you guys are just as much that part. And if they say something like, okay, the Raptors Freaks, they know they're talking about that positive Raptors fan nation that's coming out there to support the team in the right positive way. And that's what I want this word to be synonymous with, is with the good fans, the fans that really, really are diehard, the fans that really, really love the team in the right way. And they're not being toxic and negative and fucked up in different ways like some other parts of Raptors Nation. Okay, cool. So you heard Sheb mention the Raptor Freaks. This is good. This is good. Sheb, we love you. Sheb, if you're listening to me, I want to tell you that I love you, man. Tallahassee brothers forever, man. Raptors friends forever. All right, let's see. Cool Cat saying Raptors experience the same thing that the NBA is going through. Young players don't want to do the traditional method. The younger players like Pascal's approach. They rebelled the Fred VanVleet approach method. Yeah, I mean, Fred is an old head. He's a throwback, and in some ways, he does things the old way and program that way. And that maybe that's what the rebellion was. That's what that problem was. Butting heads. That it's just a new time, a new era. And Fred, well, let's see how he does leadership in Houston now. Let's see. All right, Cowboy saying, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. I made it. Bam. Good to see you, Cowboy, on a Sunday morning. Bradley, I hope you're doing very well. Ta-da. Call Ta-da if you need some help around your house. They'll do odd jobs for you. You have a heavy couch that you can't lift by yourself. Bradley will come to your house and lift that other half of that couch if you need him to. He will come by for any kind of job. You can look up Ta-da on the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, and he will come to your house and he will help you with that odd job, cleaning the gutters, trimming the hedges, washing the windows, cleaning the carpets, whatever it is. Ta-da will be there for you. Richard's back. Good to see Richard Garcia back in the chat once again with us. It'll be nice to see Pascal move without the ball. It might result in less double teams and take attention away from him. I love this too. Let's have a more active offensive set, Darko, than what Nick was putting these guys through. It really seemed like Nick was just saying, go out there and play, guys. And it wasn't really like a scheme or like movement and like cutting off the ball, or you guys were moving in synchronization to try and free one another or trying to look for one another. There didn't seem like there was any of that. It was very lazy, our offensive sets last year. It was very much beat people in isolation or just try and create things that way. Well, what if Darko actually does some work and says, all right, you move this way, Gary. You go this way, OG. And this will free up Pascal for a lane cut this way. And you just throw it to him, Dennis. And he's laying it in. It's like, oh, wow, he's actually running plays. We saw some plays at Summer League this summer already. I'm like, holy shit, they're running a play finally. I haven't seen that. And Raptors run a play in so long, it seems like. That's what I'm saying. Darko actually runs plays. He actually figures out ways to free up Siakam without him having to go through the briar patch of defenders, holding them down, making them go, ah, that'll be nice. Siakam may be making points without having to scream every time because of contact, because he's so free and open. He's just laying it in easily. That'll help him keep his gas for late in the game too, is not having to work so hard to beat defenses, because the scheme and the offensive play that Darko wrote beats the defense instead of the pure talent in isolation, a one-on-one beating people himself, expending that energy. You think that may cause him to have more energy, to be more clutch at the end of the games? If he has easier baskets to make the whole game, I think it will. And I think Richard is exactly right. This will be badass to see Siakam get more baskets without having to work so hard off the ball and cuts. Yeah, I love it, Richard. That's a future I want to see right away. Iceman saying all these leadership questions will play themselves out when the team gathers for training camp. The team leaders for 2023-24 will manifest out of training camp when the players get face-to-face. Yeah, in some ways we can say, okay, we'll speculate this. Scotty can say this. People can have their ideas about how it's going to be or this. It's really going to be, and this is going to be a committee, and there'll be different kinds of leaders for different kinds of things. You need a mentor leader, you got Thaddeus Young. You need a leader on the floor, you got Scotty Barnes. You need a leader on defense, you get maybe Pirtle or Dennis Schroeder. There's going to be different leaders. There could be a figurehead. All right, our captain, by far top leader, is Scotty or Pascal. They could designate it, or maybe say they're co-captains. Both of them are captains together. They could have an official designation on the down low somehow. Maybe they should put those C's on the jerseys just like in hockey. I don't know. But like Iceman said, it's going to be all figured out, and it should figure out the way it should be naturally. And there may be different leadership departments with different people that are in charge of those different departments. Like old head vet that's going to teach you about the NBA and the business, Thaddeus Young. If anybody's going to teach you about the NBA, it should be Thaddeus because he knows the NBA after being in the league for what, 17 years or something like that now at this point. It's crazy. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, now that I think about it, these young players would not take kindly to the Kyle Lowry approach either. Fred did it, and we saw the results. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I really want Darko to take the main responsibility of being the trendsetter, the person who's kind of in people's faces and saying, like, this is how we do things, and not let these players have to hold other players accountable. I think that was one of the hugest failings of Nick Nurse, is that he let that fall through the cracks last season. And Fred had responsibilities that he should never have been in that position to have to handle. And that Nick should have been taking up that kind of shit himself, but he didn't. It's kind of like, in some ways, I think he let the ball drop on purpose, partly because he was sabotaging his time in Toronto on purpose. And that, he could have easily done something and stepped up as a leader, as a coach. And instead, he let it fall to Fred, and Fred kind of got hurt by it. And I really do feel like that's what happened. It is what it is, and so be it. Hopefully, going forward, there's the right chemistry on the team. The leadership can be had, and there's no kind of like tuning people out because they're turning people off because they're doing an old school approach. Darko has a more humanitarian, I love you, kind of like I'm your friend kind of approach when he's coaching. Well, hopefully, he can be stern with them and tell them the hard truth also, because that's part of what it is. Do the young players that do not want to work hard? Well, no, I don't think that's what it is. I think they want to work hard. Are they sensitive because they don't want to hear criticism or maybe what they're doing wrong? Well, that could be a problem, because if you're not willing to look at where your holes are in your game, you won't ever get it better. If you think you're already good enough and you're not going to improve, well, you need to listen to criticism if you're going to get better. If not, you're not going to get any better. So why should we invest in you? Because you already think you're already good enough. So there's a couple of things in this in different ways. And I think you're right that it's kind of changed. That old school mentality of how to pass the game on is kind of getting short circuited with the new generation not being conducive to accepting it. Yeah, I think you're right. Iceman is saying maybe the players don't respect Fred like they did Lowry. To me, that doesn't make any sense, because I mean, Fred's just as accomplished. I don't know. In some ways, I feel like that's a big faux pas by anyone who did not respect Fred. In some ways, Fred's story is even more incredible than Kyle's. Seriously, Fred's story is so much more incredible. And like what he accomplished from where he came from is way more incredible than Lowry in some ways. Lowry had to get past his bad attitude. Fred had to get past his height and not even supposed to being in the league. So I don't know. I have a hard time. Like, people, I can get the fans not respecting Fred because they're idiots and they don't really understand his story and just how much he's really accomplished and how incredibly amazing his story is. But players being blind to that, I don't see that. I think they really do understand just how crazy his journey has been and how much he's accomplished. So I don't know if this is true, Iceman. It may be true, but if it is, I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you respect him just like Lowry? He's a champion. He's a G League champion. He's an all-star. He's got franchise records. He's been a winner and a proven guy on our team. And if you don't listen to him, well, then maybe that just shows you being ignorant to like learning and getting better. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I figure if they listen to Lowry, they should listen to Van Vliet. I don't understand what the difference is. Cool Cat saying Coach Darko. Hang on. Cool Cat is saying Coach Darko movement ball benefits Pascal. Under Lowry ball movement, Pascal thrived. Unfortunately, Fred's pace was too slow for our athletic players. There you go. If that's something that doesn't fit anymore, well, Fred's gone. And maybe we'll see some improvement in this area because of what Cool Cat just said. That Fred's not really like clicking with Pascal as far as like his initiating the offense is too slow. Lowry was already always an opportunist. If he saw something happening really quick, even if he's already like not even coming up the court, he'd throw it all the way full court pass, crazy stuff. Or he'd even throw really quick rocket passes for alley-oops or really quick dump in passes where no look, people aren't looking. Yeah, he was looking for that kind of stuff more than Fred was, it seemed like, for sure. He was better at getting that ball in there quickly. Yeah. Nameless is saying Mo is a community champion. Fact, that's true. I see the picture. There's a banner that says community champion Monique Lawrence. Yeah, she's bona fide official Raptors community champion. That's not even like word service. There is pictures and there is a real banner out there that says, and it's got the Raptors logo and is made by the Raptors themselves. Yeah, that's a bona fide community champion. That's right. Richard's saying Dennis is going to teach the Darko system and be a leader on the court. See, he's helpful for this. This is part of the reason why Darko's like, I've got you. You're on my team now, and you're going to help me teach these guys. Because in some ways, this is true. Darko and Dennis have already know each other pretty well. And if there's something that people are not getting about Darko trying to teach, well, Dennis may be able to explain it easier in some ways if it's not connecting in some of the other Raptors' heads. Dennis could say, well, this is what Darko means when he says this. And they're like, oh, okay. Dennis elaborated and he helped Malachi understand it better. Something like that, you know? Cowboys saying, Raptor freaks, let's grow. That's right. Let's grow. Just like the plants grow when the water comes down from the sky. That's right. With the sunshine and the photosynthesis and the chlorophyll. Let's grow this year, Raptors. Yeah. Monique saying, every time Chris Boucher would leave Scotiabank, he would come over and hug me and communicate with me, etc. That's awesome. Chris is a sweet, awesome dude. Monique, you tell him about the Raptors freaks. You tell him to come see us. You tell him about the Chris Boucher Share the Love Club we did last summer. You can go check that out. And we'll see if these guys will put us on blast or be like, we love the Raptor freaks. And maybe we'll get our own section and we'll start all sitting together and we'll be like that loud, rowdy group, a rowdy group like at Oklahoma City. They have some crazy group of fans that come to the arena and they're like really diehard Thunder fans. And they're like the crazy fans or something like that. Maybe we should start doing this. The Raptors want the really diehard positive fans to come to the arena. You give us our own section and we'll come all sit together and we'll be a force with Monique and myself and David Saborin and Cool Cat. Yeah, we'll come down there and be a force in the arena. Yeah, that's awesome. Tell Chris, the Raptors freak love him. We love Chris Boucher. The Raptors freaks love him. Raceman's saying Lex, Chris, and Chev have that weird Tallahassee connection. Must be the water. You know, Tallahassee is a weird city. You know, it's got like a really good film school also at Florida State. And there's a lot of people in Hollywood that come from Tallahassee. There's a lot of people working in Hollywood right now that went to Florida State and went to the film school in Tallahassee. There's some weird connections with Tallahassee. There are definitely really famous people that come from Tallahassee, like Burt Reynolds was a Seminole. He played for the football team and was also a graduate of Florida State University. Burt Reynolds Hall is the athletic dorm for the football players on campus at FSU. Robert Urich, Spencer for Hire, he is a Florida State Seminole who graduated from FSU. Who's another one? Lee Corso actually went to Florida State also. So, you know, we've got our history of very famous graduates and different people that come from our school. And Tallahassee is just a weird place. It seems like it's kind of like a weird, like Hollywood East, Florida kind of like hub for talent. You know, bands, musicians, radio personalities, TV, movies, actors, music. Like I said, there's all kinds of really talented people that come from Tallahassee. T-Pain's from Tallahassee. That T in T-Pain stands for Tallahassee Pain, that he is from the south side of Tallahassee. So we have a lot of famous. Richard Simmons is from Tallahassee. I don't know. I should be bragging about that. But yeah, let's see. Name is saying F hockey. Okay. Just out of the blue. Name is just saying F hockey. Cowboy saying yours and Chev's content are the only ones I watch. Everyone else is clickbait, I find. Cheers, the Mug Brothers. I love it. Also, I really think our bench will be much better this year and will amaze. The NBA, get your popcorn ready. Let's go Raptors. All right. Bradley's having confidence in a more quality bench with better players and better usage by the coach. I hope that's what happens. Kenrick saying Kyle let the second unit develop. Yeah, he encouraged them. And he liked that battle between him and Fred. And Fred was a really good person to push that. I'm hoping Marquise can be similar, that he can come up through the Raptors organization and really push the whole organization to be more competitive like Fred did when he was coming up the ranks through the 905. Marquise, you could do this. This could be a really huge help to the Raptors franchise if you can be that competitive push from the bottom, just like Fred VanVleet did a few years ago. And you saw where he got. Well, you push your way right up on through. You will make everybody competitive above you because they're worried Noel's coming. Yeah. Thank you, Nameless, for the chat cutoff. MSJ saying at Cowboy, I feel, hang on, I feel the same. Warwick report is decent. However, once in a while, other than that, clickbaiters for sure. Yeah, I'm really disappointed in people like Raptors Digest. They're doing a clickbait thing this weekend on the different subjects with Scotty that are going on right now, worrying about Scotty not being very good. You know, in some ways, part of what we're trying to do here, and people like Samson Folk, Orrin Weisfeld, Josh Lewenberg, they're trying to get the truth out there and get the facts out there and like fight the misinformation and the perception war that's around the team in certain weird ways. Like this Scotty thing. Scotty sucks from watching a dumb clip of one-on-one basketball this weekend. That's so stupid. Raptors fans, quit overreacting. That is not a clip that can tell you anything other than like watch his skills as far as the way he's holding the ball and shooting, or like maybe the way he's moving. But otherwise, it's not going to tell you anything about where he's at with his game. In fact, he was off with his shot in that whole thing, and it wasn't anything other than he's just off that time. If he's dialed in, he would have made those shots. The mechanics and things look good. It's just he was off with his shot in that particular clip. Let's see. Dana's saying, I have We the North and the Raptors ball being torn by the Raptors club. Very cool. So she is. You have it in the typeface, I'm sure, of We the North, just like my flag I'm looking at on the wall. And then you've got Raptors basketball being torn by the Raptor claw. So it's kind of like the logo, but not really. Very, very cool, Dana. That's a real one. She's got two tattoos. That's amazing. That's amazing. Two Raptors tattoos. That's awesome. Iceman saying it's not about stories. It's about personality. Okay. I like that. I like that. You know, I have a lot of crazy stories, though. In fact, I could do a whole other channel just called like My Crazy Ass Criminal Tales. Not criminal tales about me, but just like crazy tales about my life and weird situations I've been in and different chapters of my life and very strange, crazy shit that's happened. I grew up in Florida, and Florida is crazy. Florida man stuff happened to me. I did Florida man kind of stuff. So I've often thought about I know asides, I'll tell little weird stories about my past here and there, but there is some really crazy shit that I've seen and weird stuff that are very, very fun stories to tell. But they are for particular times. And if I feel the inclination or think about talking about them because they make sense, then I will. But otherwise, they'll just have to be stories to be told at another time. So yeah, I like that. Thank you. It's about personality. It's not about the stories. Mischief saying phone is dying. Going to cast this live show on my TV instead. Awesome. All right, I'm on TV now. Iceman saying plus Fred was playing very selfishly. Yeah, I mean, I tried to stand up for him last year and saying, look, we need somebody to take these shots. We need somebody to step up and try and be clutch and take us home to victories. And I stood up for him there. But it is true. Fred is not really a point guard. He's a shooting guard that's got a point guard's height. And in some ways, him and Lowry have that same kind of problem. They're combo guards, but they're really short guys that should be playing point guards, but they really need a lot of shots themselves. So they're not really pure kind of point guards. And I mean, I'll get behind this. In some ways, Fred was a selfish player. In some ways, I can get behind that. And it's okay to say about it now. I wouldn't have said it last year because I was trying to stand up for his honor. But now he's gone and everything's changed. Yeah, I'm going to say that Fred was playing very selfishly. Sure. Nameless got another chat cut off. I like it. Cool Cat saying younger demographics prefer positive affirmation of encouragement. And I use that approach to my niece compared to other family members. I've become the go-to person. There you go. She probably trusts you more. She probably knows that she feels like you are actually there to be supportive and encouraging instead of tearing her down. That may be part of it. Some of it is that young people are smarter to manipulation and weird ways that people have mistreated people. They're more social justice warriors, and they understand there's abusive relationships that are out there that in the past may have been normalized and okay at that time, but they're not having it no more. They are more self-aware of mental illness and mental health, and they don't want people fucking with them and gaslighting them or fucking with them in those kind of ways. You say what you mean what you say. Now, old school people will be like, you should get drill sergeant treatment. And it's tough love and just fucking do it. But the young people say, you'll get more with sweet than sour. If you come and talk to me in a nice way, a respectful way, and you just clearly point it out to me and say it to me like a person instead of yelling at me like a dog, then I will probably listen to you better. I get that. That makes sense to a degree. We're more civilized as we get, hopefully. I don't know if that's true. Well, then, treat people more civilized. Maybe that old approach would work in the old days, but it doesn't anymore. Maybe some people say, well, we're not going to get the best out of you because we're not pushing you hard enough because you want it easy. That is also a valid argument that sometimes greatness needs to be pushed in very mean, unflattering ways. That's what Jamal Crawford or Jamal Murray was talking about, how his dad used to make him hold the hot coffee to do the skill and he'd get burned. That's kind of abuse. And that's kind of not a nice way to do things. But did it push him to be better? Did it get him to the point where he's an NBA champion this year with the Denver Nuggets? That's what I'm saying. So there's like limits to this, but I get what you're saying. In some ways, you'll get further with sugar than salt if you're coming at somebody and trying to give them direction. So let's see if Darko's got that sugar. I think he does. It seems like it. Seems like it for sure. And Cool Cat's trusted by her niece over other people in the family because she comes at her as a human being and treating her in a nurturing kind of way. But hopefully just being upfront and honest with them where they can trust Cool Cat. Canadian Cowboys saying MSJ, bam, sounds like a nice tattoo, Dana. Also, I believe we got our culture back with Dennis and Darko. And Mo, you're the best. Tell your mama Dukes I said hi. There you go. So sharing some love from Monique's mom, who's badass and awesome, and so appreciative of her being at the meet and greet also in the last couple weeks. Yeah, good stuff, Cowboy. I love the Mug Brothers and Dana. Badass tattoos. I am jealous in a way. Nameless saying, where the hell is Tomasino Ducarelli with his cutoffs? This is a period of time where Tom is taking a break, and I get it. Listen, this is a long haul, and Tom does a lot for me on this channel, and we've talked in recent weeks. And this is the kind of part of the year where last year he kind of went away for a while. It really is just to stop and recharge. Y'all that are here with me every day, I commend y'all. I appreciate y'all, like Cool Cat, Fiercey, Mo, Nameless, Cowboy. Everybody who's here day in and day out with me, you're fantastic, but I don't expect it. If you guys need a break, you can go away and come back, and I'll be so happy to see you guys. I won't judge any of this. Mike hasn't been here for a bit too, and I know it's probably because Tom and Mike just need time to turn off the brain from the Raptors and kind of live their own life in the summer, because this is the summer, and a lot of people do not think about the Raptors at this time of year, and they're just kind of going about and doing their things. And I get it. Sometimes there's a burnout, and I'm crazy for doing what I'm doing. And I don't expect all y'all to just be here every single day. So I know Tom will be back. He may be back closer to when the season starts. He may not be here for a little while, but I know Tom will be back. And I know Mike will also. It's just that they're taking a break. That's all it is. They may watch this later and be like, yeah, Lex is right. We'll be back soon. It's just that we can't be here live all the time, and they may check in from time to time. So let's see. Cowboys saying, laugh out loud, Nameless. Later, Lex and Raptors freaks. Have a blessed day, everyone. You go, Bradley. Always good to see you. Richard saying, in what world can you be a Raptors fan and a Flames fan? Needless to say, this year should be way better. Okay, so we're hearing that you're a Calgary Flames fan and a Raptors fan. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that, actually. I think that, if you're a hockey fan, if you don't love the Toronto Maple Leafs, I am okay with that. Seriously, because they're a very painful team to root for. And they're part of the reason why it's hard to be a Toronto sports fan. And that's why I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan. So I'm a Raptors fan and a Jets fan. So if you can be a Raptors fan and a Flames fan, there's nothing wrong with that. If I can be a Jets fan and a Raptors fan. MSJ saying, imagine the Raptors team had a coach with an actual offense. Dare to dream, laugh out loud. Ball movement, perhaps, sets, running, various options. These things will happen with Darko. I really do believe that. I really do believe that. We saw the signs of it already through Pat Delaney at Summer League. There was that one fake play where they used Grady as a decoy on the three-point line, but they dumped it down to Moses Brown, and he had a really easy layup. It was totally a set misdirection play, and it was fantastic. It was something like Raptors Twitter was like, oh my gosh, a real play run by the Raptors coach. We haven't seen this in a couple years. It's like how I felt about it too. Richard saying, laugh out loud, Dana. Then the latest Transformers should have been a 90s hip-hop playlist. Interesting. She retracted her message, so I don't know exactly what y'all are saying. Nameless is saying, game over, dub stream. Y'all, see you freaky bastards tomorrow. All right, Nameless. MSJ saying, Richard Simmons is a legend, laugh out loud. The cheesiest dancing to the oldies with all the ladies in the 80s, laugh out loud. Too bad he is a shut-in these days. Yeah, he's a lot older, and I think he does live in Tallahassee right now himself. Like his mother was living there. I don't know if she's still alive, but his mother lived in Tallahassee for the longest time, and that's why he would be around Tallahassee a lot. Yeah, he's an interesting person. He's a very much a weird legend, for sure. Sweating to the oldies and all the workout videos, and his importance is out there. He's definitely a famous person, but he's a weird one. He's definitely a weird one. MSJ San and E, thanks for that shirt. Wearing it today. Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, Evelyn, thanks again for the Raptor Freak shirts. Everybody who came to meet and greet got a Raptor Freak shirt, and I hope y'all are sporting it and wearing it around. And if people are asking you about what the shirt means, you definitely know what to say. Tell them about the channel for sure. That's awesome. So Chris is wearing his Raptor Freak shirt today. Awesome, Chris. Well, hopefully, maybe somebody will notice it, give you some shine. Fiercely saying, salute to Tom and Logical, recharging and reloading matters. Yeah. Yeah. I don't fault anybody. In fact, there's people that may have not been here for over a year. If they showed up and I still remember their name, I'll be like, holy crap, you're back. It's so good to see you. This is just like a home. And you guys, I don't expect y'all to just be here with me all the time. If you all want to go for a little while or you need to be away for a bit and you come back, I'll be here, is basically what it is. Cool Cat saying, my family laughs at me and leaves me alone for my Raptor Street crew. That's awesome. That's good. It's all good. I mean, I'm glad that they respect that. My family and Adriana have to respect the stream too, to a degree, and they're very accommodating. I appreciate it. When they're in town, they understand this is just something that I do, and we make it work and we make it fit. And they've been so understanding and very helpful for me to be able to get this done. Adriana and my parents. So I really appreciate that from all three of them for sure. Cowboy saying same, Cool Cat. Bam. Yeah, listen, we may be a little weird. We were described as a cult early on, but I think that cult moniker is not fair or nice. It's a little sinister. I say we're more of a family. As y'all said, we are RFF, the Raptor Freak family. And I think that's officially who we are at this point. And, that's just what it is. We have different family members and we're different people in different places at different times. And we have a lot of resources, honestly. It'd be amazing figure out what we're actually capable of. And we are all over. We are all over. Scotty found that out when he was in Victoria, and Tom yelled Raptor Freak at him, and he came over and got the picture with him. And then when I yelled Raptor Freak at Scotty at the Subway pop-up event last fall, he was freaked out. He's like, what, the Raptor Freak? I thought you were in BC, but you're here in Ontario also. We're everywhere, baby. That's right, Scott. We're everywhere. Bam. Geomad saying, 20 years ago, me and my family chose to migrate to Toronto because of the Raptors. How crazy is that? We could have chose other provinces, but chose Toronto. Is worth it because we became champions. That is an amazing story. I love this story so much, Geomad. So you had a choice of where to go. I used to tell myself, I want to live in an NBA city. And of course, I wanted to live in Toronto because that's my team. But I said, if I'm going to live anywhere in the States, I want to live in a city that's got an NBA team because I want to be able to go to NBA games. And that was just kind of a prerequisite. So, I get this. You were moving to Canada and you had choices and you decided Toronto because of the Raptors. That is a beautiful story. And that is a real Raptor Freak thing to do. And look at that. You got the reward for doing it. You became champions. That's fantastic. That is such a beautiful story, Geomad. And I'm going to remember that you moved to Toronto because of the Raptors. That's fantastic. That's a real one. Oh my gosh. My heart is just like what this is on my shirt right now. That's so awesome. Geo gets a dunk. All right, you're right, Nameless. You're right. We're going to give Geo 3 dunks for moving because that's a big deal. Moving is a pain in the ass. And all right, so Gio's getting 3 dunks on the dunk sheet. Good stuff, Nameless. Good call out, too. All right, let me just go through and make sure I'm not missing anything else I want to talk about today. Of course, the Dame Lillard thing, who knows, it'll have reverberations as far as limiting some of the stupid-ass rumors out there a little bit more. And maybe people will be like, yeah, this isn't true because we know this is not how the NBA is allowing people to do things anymore. So hopefully there will be some less confusion, partly because of the NBA stance this weekend, as far as like, we're sick of this bullshit. Y'all stop doing this with trades and stuff and trying to determine where you're going. Looks like, Grady's got a late IG that just went posted an hour ago. It looks like he's somewhere where there's fishing. So I don't know if he's still in Toronto. I think he's now on the islands or something. He's got a friend with him. Grady. That's funny. All right. And then, that's pretty much it. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching today. Give him a dunk. Yeah, I got him a dunk. Thank you, Monique. W Stream. Thank you. Cool Cat saying, yep, I go to lots of NBA games here because as a child, it was a dream of mine living in the Caribbean, being a Magic Johnson fan. So glad for Toronto Raptors. That's awesome. So Cool Cat, you're a big Magic fan? Oh my gosh, I got to meet Magic in the 90s. And I have this autograph in my house here. It says to Alexi, may all your dreams come true, Magic Johnson. And yeah, he's a big hero of mine. Very much a big hero of mine. So you're a big fan of Magic too. See, we got a lot in common. We got a lot in common. I feel so lucky I got to meet him. It was after his HIV announcement and he was retired and he was doing a lecture series and he came to FSU and did a lecture series. And my mom was running the lecture series and she got to go pick him up at the airport in the limo and ride around with him. And she told him about me being a fan. And I had been in a car wreck and I'd been all messed up and in a really bad shape. And she got me to be able to meet him. And it was one of the best things ever. I'll remember when I shook Magic's hand, his hand was so smooth. It was so soft. It was like moisturized and just like I was like, holy crap, this dude's hand is like really soft and like well manicured and just like really well taken care of. And he was just so kind and nice. So I have a picture of me with Magic, and then I have the autographs directly from him. And I love it. He said, "May all your dreams come true, Alexi." And I said, you know what? When the Raptors won a championship and I won more championships, that's my dreams right there, Magic. That's my dreams right there. All right, Cowboy. Later, Lex and family. Let's go, Raptors. All right, 2:10 past the 2 hour mark. Let's go, Raptors.